welcome on stage Julien Simon. Thank you very much.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be in Belgium again. So my name is Julien. I'm a tech evangelist with AWS, and I focus on AI and machine learning. And today I would like to show you how easy it is to get started with artificial intelligence services, how easy it is to add those smart capabilities to your apps and services. So maybe we should start with, why are we even talking about AI? Why is this an important topic and not just a buzzword? Well, as we talk to our customers, when they come to us, we find that AI is absolutely central to their digital transformation. Sometimes they absolutely want to transform because they want to build predictive capabilities and to add smart features to their apps. Sometimes it's not the key reason, but it's always there. And from customer experience to improving operations, to of course innovation, building something that no one has built before, this is always in the picture. And it's not just us seeing this. IDC said last year that 40% of initiatives are actually supported by AI. So it is a major topic. As it turns out, there's more machine learning and AI running on AWS than anywhere else. We have over 10,000 active customers, and let me say this is a conservative public number. And of course, we have all kinds of companies. So if you think this is just for super large tech players, think again. It's really for everyone. You will see those names here. And again, this is just a small selection. So yes, you do have the big ones, Netflix and the likes of Netflix, lots of advanced technology companies, but you also have lots of traditional companies, lots of startups, public sector, universities, etc., in all verticals. So if you ask me, where is AI used? My answer is going to be everywhere by everyone. And it's not just me dodging the question. It's really what we see in the market today. So when it comes to AI, how do we build it? So as always, we're customer focused and customer obsessed. So 90+% of what we build comes directly from customer feedback. So we don't just build stuff because we think it's cool. We build it because it makes sense for customers and they have the business need for that feature or that service. The second thing is we move very fast. So last year only, we released more than 200 machine learning features. Okay? So almost one every day. And again, the pace is kind of accelerating, which makes it difficult for me even to catch up. But almost every day there's a new feature on one of our AI and machine learning services. So we keep listening to customers and we keep adding and improving what we've built. So obviously over time, we've built a pretty deep and wide stack of services, so covering vertical use cases and also very technical use cases, as we'll see. And when it comes to supporting machine learning frameworks, things like TensorFlow or PyTorch or all those really, really cool open source libraries, we support them all, we love them all. We're completely agnostic. We're not trying to push customers to a single framework because it's like programming languages. We don't think there's a single one that fits everyone's needs. So we make sure to support all of them and make sure they run well on AWS. Of course, it's not just about machine learning. It's also about storing data, processing data, and it's very precious data. So you can use the same set of security and big data services that you would use for other types of data on AWS. So we don't see machine learning as something that lives on the side. It's integrated into IT and into projects. So it needs to be secured. It needs to fit in the big picture. And last but not least, we do a lot of R&D internally for Amazon and AWS. But when we do R&D, we always keep in mind the fact that this should be solving customer problems. Okay, it's not just, again, doing crazy research for the sake of doing crazy research. If we do crazy research, then we do it because it's absolutely needed to solve customer problems. So over time, over the years, this is the stack of services that we built. So very quickly, 3 layers. The top layer, which is the one I'm going to focus on today, which is super easy to use. And then for more advanced machine learning users and companies, of course, we have more advanced and deeper technical services where you can bring your own data, train your own models, write your own code, etc., and deploy it at scale on AWS. Okay, but for today, it's a short talk, so I want to make sure I get to the end and I don't overrun. So we're going to focus on these AI services. So this layer of services is really meant for people who have almost no, and possibly no machine learning experience at all. Okay, so if your company is interested in adding AI capabilities to apps and services, but you don't want to hire machine learning experts, you cannot hire them, you just want to write code, call APIs, get the job done, move on to the next project, this is the layer you should be looking at. So today we have those services. We're not going to go through all of them. I will demo some of them in a few minutes. But as you can see, they're really vertical services focusing on artificial vision, speech, so speech to text, text to speech, language, so translation, natural language understanding, as well as chatbots, forecasting, building forecasting models, and building recommendation and personalization models. Okay? And I guess we'll keep adding more over time. So the common theme in these services is, first, they're all pre-trained services. Okay? So we have the data, we train the models, we constantly train and optimize those models, and we expose them through cloud APIs that you can call. Okay, so as you will see, mostly it's about one line of code that everyone in this room can write, even if you're not a technical person. So this makes it super easy to add them, right? You don't have to launch complex projects, you don't have to refactor your apps, you can just plug them in and move on to the next project, okay? So let's look at a few, I would say, high-level examples. Again, we have lots of customers. So this is one example of typical workflows that we see built with those services. Automating media workflows. Okay, so it could be images, it could be video, it could be documents, it could be just text files, and maybe you have to do things like content moderation. Okay, if you have user-generated content, unfortunately, there can be lots of very weird, nasty, and sometimes illegal stuff that gets uploaded to you, and you want to make sure this gets filtered out. Okay, whether it's images or again videos or text. So all kinds of applications here. So services like recognition, which is a visual analysis service for images and videos, with the capability to do face detection, emotion detection, violent content detection now is included, and of course generally labeling images, labeling data, etc. Or services like Comprehend that lets you understand the context. You can do sentiment analysis and things like that. Transcribe again is speech to text. Translate, it's pretty obvious, and Textract is a text extraction service. So all these are really simple to use, and I can give you an example, maybe Sky News. So if you watched the royal wedding in the UK a while ago on Sky News, they actually use recognition video to do live celebrity detection as celebrities would enter the church. Okay, so they would just capture their video stream, push it through recognition video, and in real-time recognition will tell them, okay, this is Elton John, and this is David Beckham, and this is the Queen's third cousin, etc., etc. Okay, that's the kind of thing you can build. Advanced media workflows. So I want to highlight Textract, because I'm guessing this is a problem that really everyone has. So every company has to go and digitize tons of documents, right? So whether you have to move from paper to PDF, or maybe you have already a ton of PDF or image files and you need to convert that to text, maybe just for archive reasons, maybe you want to do more advanced analytics, again, natural language processing, etc., etc. So we built TextTrack, and TextTrack is the simplest thing. You can extract text and structure, so forms, tables, from images and PDF files, and get a programmatic answer that then you could process with your apps. Okay, but let me show it to you. And I need to put my AI glasses. All right. Okay, so here obviously I want to keep the demo simple, so I will use what we call the AWS console, which is a web application for our customers, where you can quickly test and experiment with services. But for developers and technical people in the room, of course, you can do the exact same thing with APIs. Okay, so it's not just clicking through whatever. What we're really doing here is calling APIs and extracting data. So let's upload a document. So I'm going to take my phone bill, all right? So here I'm just uploading this phone bill to TextTrack, and we can see that the text, has been properly detected all the time. All the text areas have been properly detected. So I can see the raw text here, but maybe there's a form here. Yes. So that top left box, and maybe I can zoom in a bit. This box is a form, right? So we call them key values. Okay, so date de facture, that's the key, and December 16th is the value. So those two things are related. They're not just words that happen to be in the document. Okay, so we can actually pick them up as such, right? And of course, there's a table here with my spend. And again, TextTrack will pick up the table and the structure, and the answer that you get from that API call will reflect that. So it's not just dumb OCR that extract text and then you go and figure out the structure. It's as you can see, text and structure. So here's another example. So I uploaded it already to save some time. So this is this is a PDF file from a financial company reporting on the performance of one of their funds. Okay, fascinating stuff. So it's a pretty complex document. As you can see, we have text and we have graphs and we have tables, kind of. And again, we can see, all those things which are, holdings. So how much Amazon this fund actually holds. Not enough. Come on, buy more. This is related, right? So this information is available. And of course, we have a nice table here, and it's correctly picked up. Okay? So that's how you do it. Now, from a tech perspective, what does it mean? How difficult is it to do this? Okay, that's what it takes. Okay? You can go back to the office, try this. It's going to work. So it's one line of code. So you call that an Analyze Document API from TextTrack. This is Python code, but you can do this in your favorite programming language. We have SDKs for all kinds of languages. You pass the location of the document. So I'm sure you've heard about that S3 thing, our storage service. And so you need to define the location of the document in S3 and say, hey, by the way, give me tables and forms. Okay? And that's all it takes. And so what you would actually get, just to show you the whole story here. So you would get, from this API, you would get a JSON response. Okay, so don't worry if you're not technical, your IT team knows what to do with this. Okay, right, so we have bounding boxes, we know the location of each word, etc., etc. And of course, we have the raw text and the key value pairs. And we even have that table in a CSV file. So if I want to import that file directly into my app and process CSV data, you don't have to do anything. It's already there. Okay? And you just pay per API call, and just like always on AWS. So I think that's pretty simple. But go and try it. Another example, localization. Generating content in different languages. So, you know, I'm sure a lot of people here are running websites or serving customers in different countries, right? So the language problem is always there because you want to have localized content, and you know it's going to be more efficient. Whatever you do, if you talk to people in their native language, of course, it just works better. So things like translation in real time, or identifying languages. You know, if you're collecting tweets from your social feeds, they could be in all kinds of different languages. So if it's French, German, Dutch, okay, if we can figure those out. How do you recognize Ukrainian from Russian, from Bulgarian, if you don't speak the language? You know, it's the same alphabet, but these are different languages. So scenarios like those are difficult, and a customer like Hotels.com, which I'm sure you know, is running large websites in many different countries, and they have probably millions of hotel descriptions and probably tens of millions of user reviews, and no one is going to translate that stuff manually, right? It's just not possible. And it's not worth it from an economic perspective. So using a tool like Translate will help you out because you can translate at scale, and I'll show you a demo of Translate in a minute. But before I talk about Translate, I want to talk about Poly, because Poly is our text-to-speech service. So it's obviously a very fun one to work with. It's been around for a while. We support 29 languages and 59 different voices, male, female, etc. And this summer we launched a new feature which we call Neural Text-to-Speech, which is basically a new way to generate speech using deep learning techniques. And it also gives us the ability. So it improves the quality of the speech, and it gives us the ability to apply styles. So you'll hear that in a second. So this is one of the voices, one of the English voices, our US English voices, called Matthew. So let's listen to standard Matthew.
Sources tell CNN he believes the media and the Northeast elite are needlessly hyperventilating and overreacting to his comments.
Okay, not bad, but you could still say, yeah, that's not a real voice. Right? Hyperventilating and overreacting, these are difficult to get right. So let's hear what NTTS has to say about this. So same text, but this time applying deep learning text generation.
Sources tell CNN he believes the media and the Northeast elite are needlessly hyperventilating and overreacting to his comments.
Okay, sounds nicer. Okay, no more fumbling on those difficult words. So you can decide for yourself, is this human-like enough? Would you be fooled? Or could you still figure out it's a computer speaking? So now let's listen to the same thing with the newscaster style, which is basically applying a style that would sound like something you'd hear on TV or on the radio.
Sources tell CNN he believes the media and the Northeast elite are needlessly hyperventilating and overreacting to his comments.
Okay, now that sounds very good, right? It's dynamic, it sounds like a reporter, okay? And of course, a reporter would speak in a certain way, a university teacher would speak in another way, I guess an evangelist would speak in yet another way. You know, each trade has a specific style. And so since we have that deep learning based voice generation, or text, sound generation, I should say, then we can apply those styles, okay? So that's pretty cool. How complicated is it? Well, you see me coming from a mile away. It's one line of code again. Synthesize speech, pick the format. So you could save that to a file, or you could play it immediately. It's fast enough for interactive conversation. If you have an Amazon Echo device, this is the Alexa voice, pretty much. The text, the voice ID, again, 59 voices in 29 languages, and we're using the neural, so the NTTS engine, okay? And recently, I found about this customer, so it's called the Globe and Mail. It's the leading daily newspaper in Canada, and they're combining Translate and Poly for their customers. So if you open an account, and I have to say, it's all even supported for free customers. So they kind of give this service for free, which tells me it's probably not so expensive for them, right? So just create an account in the Globe and Mail, and you see this player showing up. So sure, you could play you could read that article with the newscaster style, of course, in English. But as you know, Canada has 2 official languages, and some people will want to listen to this in French, and we happen to have a French-Canadian voice with a very nice French-Canadian accent, so it's going to sound exactly like what they would expect. And they also added Mandarin, because I'm guessing they have a lot of Chinese readers, and so they also want to give the opportunity to the Chinese readers to get that content in their native language. So basically translating on the fly and generating the sound version of the article in the newscaster style in real time. Okay? Maybe that's a 90 for Belgium too. I don't know. Talk to me. Another example, understanding the voice of the customer. I'm sure 90% of the people or 100% of the people in this conference are looking to do this one way or the other. So sentiment analysis, again, translation, transcription, accessibility, understanding customer context, right? For example, we see ad tech companies that personalized the banners, the ads that you see on the website based on the images that are on the page. So in real time, they do label extraction on those images, and they show you an ad that probably is related to that content. So if you're reading a sports article, then probably you're going to see a sports-based ad or sports-based products. And all that stuff can happen in real time. So, okay? So let's talk about translate. I mentioned it, but I'm guessing, again, it's a problem that a lot of people have, right? Translating your own content to make it accessible to lots of different locations, and translating customer reviews, translating tweets, figuring out what people are saying about you on social feeds, etc., etc. So again, translate has been around for a while. We have 32 languages and 987 language pairs, so we pretty much support from any to any. Recently we added Greek, Hungarian, Romanian, Thai, Ukrainian, Urdu, and Vietnamese. So again, it's not just French, English, and German. And it will detect text automatically, the source text, the source language. And again, in real time, it will translate to any of those 32 languages. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so again, I'm using the console, but right, you get the story by now. This is one API call. Okay, so let's take a little bit of poetry, right? Technology is interesting, but a little bit of poetry is good too. So Verlaine, right? And plus, I think poetry is an interesting example because it's, poetic license will let poets write stuff that could not be proper French or proper English or proper German. So, it's not easy to get the context and understand that stuff. So you see what happened here, right? I just copy that text. The source language is detected automatically, so that's not too hard. It's French. And then I can translate it to English. And, well, I'm biased. I'm going to say the French version is obviously the best. But if I didn't speak French and I still wanted to read what Verlaine wrote, this would be an interesting translation, I think. Okay, and I think it captures what Verlaine meant. And of course, we could try other languages. So I'm going to try the ones that I know a little bit. Okay, don't ask me to speak German, but I can read it a bit. And again, reading this feels okay, right? And I'm not a linguist, I'm not a German poet, but this looks kind of fine. Right? What should we try? Maybe Dutch? Okay, and you see, BIM, call the API, get the text, right? And of course we could do, all right, let's do Thai, why not? Okay, anybody speaks Thai? Okay, I don't, but okay. I'm trusting my Thai colleagues to say this is the correct answer. Okay, and we can do Urdu, and we can do very, very different languages. Okay, so that's all it takes. We could have custom terminology here. So custom terminology is basically vocabulary that you provide. So if you were translating a lot of poetry with very weird French words, and you thought, well, that translation is not great, you could actually provide, again, a word pair saying, well, monotone, okay, I want it to be translated like this, in this context, okay? So you could upload your custom list of words and translate who would use them. Okay? So, how many lines of code is this? One, thank you. One line of code. Translate text, source language, automatic, target language, in this case, Romanian, and the text, and then print out the response from that API call, and you get your translation. And this is absolutely real time. Okay? And you could you can use it in streaming mode if you want as well. Okay, the last one I want to talk about quickly is, of course, personalizing the customer experience. So targeted recommendation, targeted products. I mean, it's all over our websites, right? So you know what it is. And here we have, I guess, a key service I'd like to talk about called Personalize, which lets you train your own personalization models on your own data, but without managing any infrastructure and without writing a line of machine learning code. So basically the way this works is you just bring your data, so user information, let's say demographics in a CSV file, product information, so your catalog in a CSV file, and what we call the user item interaction file, saying, user 123 clicked on product 456. Okay, so these are the only things we ask from you. Put those in S3, create a model in Personalize. Okay, that's maybe 2 lines of code this time. You can use AutoML techniques, so you can tell Personalize, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing, I don't want to go into algos, just try different algos and let me know which one works best. Okay? It's going to crunch for a while, and then you can deploy your prediction API, so your HTTP endpoint that you can invoke to get results. Okay? So bring user item interactions, user attributes, product information, item catalog, call a personalized API. You can also stream data, so you could start from historical data. You can also, if you have new click streams, you can inject them in Personalize as well, and you can train as often as you need and deploy that to your prediction API. Okay? And if it sounds like I'm making it super simple, it is super simple. I don't have time to do the demo today, but ask me questions at the end. I'll show you how to get started with this. Okay? I'm pretty sure everybody in the room can do it, at least in the AWS console. So how do you get started with all of this? I would say a good starting point would be reading about those services, reading some documentation, reading use cases, customer stories, how did the other guys do it? And you'll find that at ml.aws for the full stack. Of course, then probably you want to learn, and we have the Machine Learning Academy with lots of free courses on machine learning in general and all the services as well. And of course, the AI services are part of that. And of course, then you want to try it out. And if you don't already have an AWS account, you can create one, and you can use all these services for free for 12 months within certain usage limits that are defined at this webpage. Thank you very much. I think we have time for a few questions. If you want to stay in touch, this is my Twitter account. My messages are open. This is my blog on Medium, and of course, I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn. And please get in touch, even in 6 months, if you have questions on any of this. Thank you very much for inviting me, and let's do a couple of questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julien, for your time. Well, for the question, I think you will be here.
Yep, I'll stay a little bit. Yep.
ecosystem view was shown in a book back in 2016. The idea is no matter you for or not for profit, you can really, as an entrepreneur, have an impact on society in a positive way. So please welcome on stage Piet Colruyt.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I will tell a story about social entrepreneurship. We wrote a book 3 years ago, Allemaal Sociaal 3.0. It's in Dutch, and the title means that we believe that the current operating system we are using in the society has to be redefined a bit. We need a new version of it. The three big players like the public authority, and then you have the business, and then you have the citizens or the non-profit sector, and they are all a bit fighting against it. They are all thinking that they are right and the other ones are wrong, and so they are all, instead of working together, more fighting each other. And so we think there is a new operating system that we need. The subtitle is, Can Entrepreneurs Save the World? And in our book we try to say threefold yes. The first yes is, yes they should. If you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals to be reached in 2030, IMF has calculated that we need $4,500 billion every year. If you count all budgets of all non-profit organizations, of all development aid agencies, it's only $1,500 billion a year. So we need entrepreneurs. So the first yes is, yes, they should. The second yes is, yes, they can. And in the book we give many examples of social enterprises that become really sustainable and scalable. So we give examples where it's possible to combine doing good and doing well. And so the third yes is, yes, we can. We need more of them, so everyone can be a social entrepreneur. So I know my story will be embedded in my personal story. I hope it's a very special story at one side, but at the other hand, I hope it's inspiring also for everyone in the room. So it's always polite to start with who I am, if it works. Who am I? I'm a PC, a personal computer. When I met my wife, she said, yeah, your computer, your rational part is very well developed, but your personal interrelational skills, your emotional skills is a bit less. She's a psychologist, so she can know. I'm also Piet Colruyt, and there it's a bit the same. Everyone looked at my last name, and who is the Piet? What my wife was asking. And so it's good to tell the story from the beginning. And the beginning, in fact, is 1928, when my grandfather started selling other products in the bakery of his father in Lembeek, near to Halle. And so he started selling coffee, tea, wine, chocolate. So that is what today is the Colruyt company, 9 billion euro turnover, 29,000 employees working there, and it's a listed company, but still a family-owned business. So 100 family members are the owners. And in 2010, I asked myself, what is my role in it? Who am I? That's the easy question, the easy answer. But my father always said that in our family we have 4 types of people. We have really the commercial guys, he could sell everything. So my grandfather really was a commercial guy, commerçant. And then you have the engineers. My father was an engineer with the good and the bad things of an engineer. He could calculate everything. And then we had the artists, the third type, and they are not so good in selling and often not so good in calculating. And so the fourth type is the aunt or the priest and the aunt nonnicus, what is it, aunt nuns, And in the former generation, in our generation, it's more the philosopher, the thinker. So I was asking myself in 2010, 40 years midlife crisis, who am I? I studied philosophy, I studied engineering, I studied architecture, I studied corporate finance, and I didn't know who I was in 2010 until I met this organization, Ashoka. Ashoka is worldwide the biggest organization of social entrepreneurs. The founder of Ashoka, Bill Drayton, in 1981, launched also this terminology, social entrepreneur. It was for the first time I saw really this combination, really changing my world. In fact, the book, How to Change the World, did change my world. It's full of stories of people, of social entrepreneurs, not stopping trying to solve societal issues. And in all the book, it's not a question of is it for-profit or non-profit. No, they try to solve the societal issues with the best model. And so for me, it was an eye-opener. And since then, I give presentations and interviews and talks like this, and when the audience is full of business people, I see them with their arms crossed, social entrepreneur now, and we are not social, we are creating jobs, we are creating prosperity. So they don't like the combination social entrepreneurs. But then, if I'm in front of a social organization, I see also them sitting like this. As Colruyt talking about social entrepreneurship, it would be window dressing or greenwashing. So there is something that I like. For some it's a contradiction, for others it's a tautology. That's why I like to use it. If you have the spectrum, it's clear that what I'm talking about, social entrepreneurship, it's something in the middle. Impact investing is also looking for trying to combine doing good and doing well. And so it becomes even more interesting if you say, okay, there is at the left you have the non-profit, and there at the right you have the for-profit. It's something in the middle. And you see there is a financial pressure from the left side, so many non-profit organizations are fed up with filing for registering for new subsidies or for going with their hat on and to find new donation money. So they are all looking for other business models to have revenues. And so at the other hand, there is also pressure. Traditional companies only looking for their shareholders' value that will not work. People don't accept it anymore. So there is the legal situation changes, but also on social media, as if H&M started to sell things that scarves from the cats, and there is a YouTube film in where you can see how they are treated, these cats, then it's not only a problem for the selling or the sales of this scarf, but it's also a big problem for H&M. So there is a pressure towards the middle. And so if the traditional non-profit organizations are on the left side and the traditional investors are looking for the right side, there is a gap. And that's a bit the gap where I'm talking about. I think if you look at very entrepreneurial social organizations, then you see that social entrepreneurs coming in. And if you look at investing, trying to combine doing good and doing well, that's the space where I'm investing in. And then there is an overlap. Then you can see, okay, social entrepreneurship is the way I think will be good examples to find new solutions and for societal challenges. I would like not to talk too much about Colruyt, but maybe some things on Colruyt. It's clear that for me, Colruyt, it's a listed company. It's doing, trying to do good, but also profit is the first mission. And so in fact, we believe that it's not at the left side the good ones and at the right side the bad ones, or at the right the realist people and they're the dreamers. No, in the middle, both sides, left and right from this dotted line in the middle, trying to combine doing good, doing well. It's only a difference in vision. What is the best way to have more impact? And some say if you want to have more impact, you have to have market-conform returns. Otherwise, you will not grow, and competitors will go there. And so, to have the most impact, you have to have also good profits. And at the left side, in the middle of the left side of this dotted line, they say, no, if we only do with market-conform returns and we don't take higher risk or accept lower returns, we will never find this new solution. So it's two different visions, and I think we need both. To say Colruyt in my opinion, is an inclusive business, trying to take into account every stakeholder, but it's not always been like that. If my grandfather started, he had 9 children to feed, and he wanted a big house and a big car, and so the profit element was the first intention maybe. And then the second generation, my uncle, Jo, he said a company can only grow if people grow, and we started investing in massively in formation and coaching of the people. And the third generation, Jeff Colruyt, who is my cousin, who said, no, people is also important. We have only one planet, so we have to take into account also the planets. So, and their vision is a bit, okay, to have the most impact, you should do business and try to have market confirmed returns. And otherwise, there are other things that are more near to the heart, and then they created Colibri Foundation. Colibri Foundation is a non-profit, and we give donation money, and they say, okay, some things you cannot solve, and we will give the money. And so there is a big difference between those two sides. The one is with the heart, and the other one is more rational. And I said, no, we need businesses that also use their heart, and also we need non-profit organizations that use their brains to have more impact. And so I'm talking about this middle, about social entrepreneurship. And there it's very important to say we look for integrated social and business model. That means if it's a model where there is a trade-off, you earn money and then you do something good, then it's with the profit, then you can only do it if there is profit. If you integrate them, the social and the business model, then there is no trade-off. You can just be an entrepreneur trying to maximize the turnover, to minimize the cost, and then you will have more impact. So scaling business is scaling impact. That's the vision. How can we maximize impact if we maximize these businesses? There are 3 ways of doing this, and one way, the first one, I will give examples, not from the digital space. I give some examples later on about digital, but to make really the concept clear of a social enterprise, I wanted to give this example of AfriPads. In Uganda, children, women, girls go 3 days a week, 3 days a month, not to school because of their monthly period. And so because traditional, maandverbanden, are too expensive, and so there was a young couple of Canadians saying, okay, maybe there is water enough, there is sun enough, we can have reusable pads for these girls to make them go to school. And they started AfriPads, and they see it is working. And so I was on a conference in 2011. They were presenting it, and it was a nice story. They were looking for crowdfunding. They were looking for 50,000 euro, and there were some Dutch families investing it. And I said, okay, we have a fund. Seed can invest until 50,000. So I'm one of the biggest investors in AfriPads, and every year on the annual conference they asked me if I would come with to visit them. And so I visited it with my daughter of 16 years, and when I was in a restaurant in the evening with them, and I asked really what is really the most important lesson learned about, and they said, if we had listened to this nice annual meeting conference where all these crowdfunders said, yes, but you're using plastic to package. Why don't you use biodegradable plastic? And your cotton, why isn't it organic cotton? And it comes from China, your cotton. And so his answer was, our focus was to help these girls with lower priced pads. And the only way is if you focus. So if it's 80–90% good, and it's working, and we see that they are growing. They are growing to Kenya, to Nigeria now, and to South Africa. They're making profits. For me, it's really an example where, okay, focus is most important. So, AfriPads, but there are also in the digital space. We invested with SI2 Fund in Helper. They're using a platform. There's SpaceHive, is the crowdfunding platform where the digital is key to have successes. But all these companies like Blue Square, We Are Digital, like Bigo, all these companies have an integrated model. The more turnover, the more positive impact in the world. That's one model. That's the first model of scaling business by scaling the impact. The other model, what we see, is okay, maybe we can co-create, maybe social enterprise itself must not scale. It's difficult to scale. They need the right funding, they need the right coaching, they need the right network. So the other way is maybe they can work together. One of the social enterprises I invested in is Kinome, working with a big company, with Danone. This is again an example in Africa where they Kinome, Nicolas Metro is an Ashoka fellow. He discovered that in Chad the heart of these trees is used in the local food, and they use it to make in the kitchen. And so it's healthy, and he said, can I investigate this if it's really good, it's a good binding method. And today Danone was using chemical products to have as a binding element in their yogurts. And so he asked, can I see if we could replace it? The goal of Nicolas Metro is to fight deforestation. He wants to plant trees. That was his ultimate goal. But his way of trying to propose to Danone an economical viable business model, and the Danone Foundation said, yes, we can do it. We can invest in, and it seems to be healthy for the people. But there was a problem. There was not enough acacia trees in Chad to help. And then again, Nicolas Metro said, maybe we can plant these trees. And so he planted 4 million of these trees. 3,000 families are living from this heart of this acacia tree, putting in the yogurts of Danone. That's another way. So combining on the left side social enterprises with a good idea. If you want to have more impact, maybe try to work together with the bigger companies, with the bigger organizations. It can be companies, but also governments or authorities, public authorities. And that's the example I wanted to give with B-Codes. There we created B-Code, maybe you know it. It's a digital example where it's a coding school for people who are on the streets, not finding jobs, not going to school, so the typical NEET youngsters, no employment, education and training. And so we find them, and we, in 6 months, 7 months, B-Code trains them. B-Code is a non-profit organization, but the new thing here, the new model is that in fact it's an investor, a private investors who work together with government, VDAB, Actiris, who say, okay, maybe if you can train them and they find a job, the investor will be paid. So that's a new model, social impact bonds, that we created the first in Flanders with B-Code and Impact Capital. That's another way of co-creation between the big influencers, with bigger organizations like VDAB or Danone, trying to combine it with non-profit social entrepreneurs. A third model is maybe just the good ideas, picking the brains of these social entrepreneurs, because they are always 5 years ahead in finding new solutions, and maybe they are not the best managers, not the best entrepreneurs to really scale this. So another way is maybe just have the best ideas and try to do it very on a bigger scale. And so that's the model I wanted to talk about. Another Ashoka fellow, so all my examples come from this organization Ashoka, where the view of this guy, Bill Drayton, was how can we change the world if you look in every country and you select the best social entrepreneur. And best is meaning that he or she is really entrepreneurial, has a good heart, and he's very innovative. If you select them and you support them with money and with a network, then they can scale their business. So this guy, maybe you know him, is Tobias Leenaert. He's the inventor of Thursday Veggie Day. So he was promoting, in fact he's a veganist, and he's promoting to eat more plant-based. And how does he do it? Not by saying that you are all murderers who are eating meat, but by saying, okay, maybe if we all eat meat one day in a week, we don't eat meat, it's the same for the animals, as 50% less suffering of animals. It's also good for the health of the people. It's also better for the carbon emissions. If we eat, it's the same one day no meat in Belgium would be the same as 1 million cars less on the roads. So the carbon emission effect. And then there is also the only way of feeding 10 billion people in the world. It's only possible if it's more plant-based. So he has a positive story, but tries to make it as an opportunity. And I invited him to Colruyt, in fact the biggest butcher in Belgium. And invited to the management of Vlevico, Vlees Viande Colruyt. And they were sitting like this, what is he? He's going to tell that the meat consumption will go down, and we are just seeing that we need a new factory, and we will build a new factory because we see every year 10% growth. And they were listening, and they said, okay, maybe there is something in, and we were seeing that maybe the individual proportions are a bit lower, and in fact, it was true. We built a new factory, it was 30% smaller than the intended first plans, and it has 2 production lines, one for meat, one for veggie products. And so I asked Togas at that time, what is the best alternatives, best substitute? And he was talking about the social enterprises. The social enterprise in the Netherlands, he had a product, Beter, which is sold in the vegetarische slager, and it was really a good product, and it's really like chicken meat, and it's really the best one. And we bought it 3 years ago, and we see that turnover is going there, 100% growing every year, and the consumption of meat is going down. So my story is today we sell it in. My story is that social entrepreneurs are always 5 years ahead because they only have one mission. They want to solve societal issues, and they have new ideas, but often they are not the best ones to make it work. And so that was an example in the retail, but also in social housing. I social housing companies trying to make new models, how you can use private money to build social housing. We did it with Livingstone, but after 10 years we had 20 apartments. They were not the best managers to do it. And then we did it with Bank de Grove and with Cois Invest and Revive. And today, in 3 years' time, we have 1,000 of these social housing. So it's the same model, but using the best aspects to make it more scalable. And also in energy, we saw, and there comes my example of digital again. So we were looking at people with many good intentions, trying to lower the energy consumption in houses. We did it with 3E. We made Watson. Watson is an ESCO, an energy-saving company, and we professionalized it and we didn't start with the small houses, but elderly homes, because in elderly homes people just put their temperature on 22 degrees. They are 24 hours there, they take every time the same hour, they take their showers, and so it's really a perfect fit to test ESCO's energy-saving companies. And there we use some technology, also artificial intelligence with DeltaQ to say, okay, many building building management systems are very stupid. They just put on yes, heating if it's in early spring, it's cold and it's not 21 degrees, and they heat, and then after the sun is shining, and then they have to put it down, and then they put on the cold, the cool, the air conditioning. So only by using artificial intelligence we could do it with DeltaQ 20%, 30% less energy consumption. All started with the idea, okay, what is the problem? We want to reduce energy consumption because there is a climate problem. So these are all examples in different sectors where I say, okay, if non-profit organizations, social entrepreneurs are thinking more entrepreneurial, and if traditional organizations, more businesses, think more social, then there is a match there, then you can work together. And that's what we started 2 years ago with Impact House in Brussels near the Wetstraat Rue de la Loi. We have created this house where there is 3 floors of organizations, non-profit, for-profit, both, but all focused on impact. We want to maximize the impact, and we think it can be done if people start to work together. And that's a bit the idea. On the ground floor and basement we have also co-working spaces, and we have also event spaces and meeting rooms, all to maximize impact. That's the idea. And so when we started it, the first organization who was in my in the Impact House was Ashoka. Ashoka Belgium. They are represented in 90 countries, so I was very happy that Ashoka came to our Impact House. And so they have a big network, international network, and they have 4,000 Ashoka fellows selected in the worldwide with the best ideas, very entrepreneurial and with a good heart. So at the other hand, we had iPropeller, and iPropeller is a consultant in shared value. They work with the bigger corporations, with the governments, with the bigger organizations to say, we pick the brains of these social entrepreneurs and we help you to make in your strategy more, more business also, but integrating these social, and social means environmental or social issues. So there are enough challenges in the world. There is poverty, there is climate, there is people getting older, there is traffic jams, and people trying to solve these. If you can solve these are growing markets, so it's also good for the business. That's the story of iPropeller. And by doing this, trying to bring in contact the good ideas of the social entrepreneurs together with these big companies, it's okay, maybe it's not fair, we pick the brains and we give them, maybe we should also help them to coach them. And then we started Oxygen Lab. Oxygen Lab coaches social enterprises that want to grow, where we try to make one business plan, social and impact and a finance business plan to fix them together. If they can grow, they can grow both. And then we say, okay, maybe we help them, and then we see maybe they lack of finance. The first 50,000 they found, and it was maybe easy to found, but we saw, okay, maybe between 200,000 and 1.5 million, there is really a funding gap. It's too risky for banks, and it's too small for private equity often. Maybe, it's too big for business angels, and for the friends and the fools and family, also too big. So there is really a funding gap. And in 2012, we started the first social impact fund, SI2 fund. Then we say, maybe, not everyone has these friends and fools and family, and maybe the first 100,000 is also for other people difficult. And then we said, maybe we create a social a seed capital fund. And we say, social entrepreneurship and crowdfunding is a perfect mix, because often it's very local. If you have good social issues, people want to invest. People ask me, can we invest in this social organization? And then we created, or Lita was created. Lita is a crowdfunding platform using social enterprises and equity and loans to help them scale. And so Impact Capital is also in the house, and then even Colruyt Group has one of the offices because their innovation on traffic jams is in Brussels. And then there is, at the other hand, we also say maybe sometimes not all issues can be solved with business funds. So sometimes there is need for donation money, and we also incorporated a foundation that can give really system-changing, innovative things that are not ready yet to become a business that Stichting Spring can give. And so this is the story of an impact house where we see it's really a view on an ecosystem where they try to work together. So I will end with the same playing of words that I started with. And it's not only playing with words, it's also important for you. Maybe you are on the left side of this dotted line or on the right side, and maybe it's good to talk to your colleague or to a partner in business. Maybe there is a difference in view. For me, it's important to say they are both good solutions, but just try to work together. And so in the search from who am I really, I worked in the supermarket for 1 year in 2003. I was not really the best salesman. I'm not the commercial guy. That was for sure. I also designed the supermarkets, but everyone who has been in the Colruyt supermarkets knows that the architecture is not very artistic, so I'm not an artist neither. Maybe, there is, in fact, the last project I did was the BioPlanet in Leuven, which was 80% less energy consuming than traditional supermarkets, but I didn't do the calculation, so I'm not an engineer neither. So the only thing that is left, maybe I'm most of all a priest, a philosopher, a promoter, a PC, a promoter of co-creation. Co-creation between this left side and the right side, between the non-profit and the for-profit, between social businesses and inclusive business. All together to get one thing, and this is maximizing societal impact. Thank you.
People around you. So to start off the day, today, it is our great pleasure today to welcome a very, very interesting and inspiring person going by the name of Jonathan Cuban. For those of you who might know Jonathan Cuban as the Mexican Belgian responsible for the Mom I Find concept, and this is our great pleasure to welcome the mom herself, so bienvenida aquí. Jonathan is actually running community on Instagram with over 350,000 people. He's been a brand ambassador for numerous very prestigious brands across the world, such as Volvo, Canon, Samsung, Adidas, or the European Commission, just to name a few. He carried out several campaigns, one of them being quite successful with Cristiano Ronaldo. You will hear about it today. And well, besides being a content creator and a speaker, it is also very important for Jonathan to actually act and use his reputation to act for good. So on his part, he's actually involved in a project with his community on Instagram to build a school made entirely out of a recycle in the city of Tulum, in Mexico, which is basically the place where he comes from. So he is today to address the topic, the very interesting topic of influence marketing, you know, the so-called buzzword, and to see how you can actually have an impact with your brands and the people having an impact and an influence over a large community. So please give a round of applause to Jonathan Cuban.
Hi everyone. First of all, I have to be careful with what I say. As you know, my mom is here. So tonight, it looks dark, so tonight, no, maybe not. This morning, I would like to start with a simple question. Does influential marketing work? And I will have to go pretty quick, and the structure that I would like to start with is present myself, explain who I am, what's my story, and then what was my experience, and then give hints about the Belgian market and explain how is it going, example of campaigns, what work and what doesn't. So, first of all, my story. Basically, I'm born in 1989. I'm Belgian, I'm Mexican. I'm a mix between those two. My mother is Mexican, my father is Belgian. And approximately 3 years ago, 3 years and a half, I was lost. I was totally lost. I had the life that my parents wanted me to have. Basically, I was working as a consultant for embassies and lobbyists. I had a good car, a good apartment, a good life on paper. But I wasn't feeling happy, and the only thing that I wanted to do was traveling. But, of course, if you listen to my parents, traveling is not a job, and I agree with them. Like, most of the time, traveling is not a job. I wanted to do something to be able to travel, but the problem when you travel is not the amount that it costs you. Of course, it costs a lot of money if you're going to be traveling for a lot of time, but it's also the money that you're not making. So if you're traveling for 6 months, you're going to pay a lot for 6 months, but also you're not going to earn any money. So I was looking online and I was trying to find something, and I had some propositions. It was possible to be a waiter, to be, I don't know, like a professor of French and things like this. But if you think about it, if you are traveling in the US, well, it's possible. But if you're traveling in Bolivia, you're going to make €1, €2 an hour, so impossible to travel. So I had an idea. The idea is the following. I will please ask you to remember this picture, because there is a quite difference between the first one and the second one. Basically, my mom was worried. Like every mom, when you travel and you say, I'm going to travel by myself, like a mom worries, but mine is Mexican, so people think it's love. I was just afraid of her. So basically, I said, okay, I have a concept. I really treated this concept as a company. So I put mission, vision, values. I really tried to define a concept that would be authentic, that is me, because really my mom was worried, and to try to sell it to brands. Almost everyone knows here in this room. How does it work? If you have a crowd, you try to just do advertising, basically. You make a post, it's seen by a lot of people, and then you sell it. I went to see a lot of brands, like some that I cannot name, like small cameras. I think that some of you know who I'm talking about. And even at the beginning, 2 years ago, I was trying to make some exchanges, and it was really the beginning, and brands didn't believe in it. The only one that believed in it was Energy. Energy said, okay, we don't have budget, but what we can do is we can give you a bit of visibility. Again, with this email, I went to see a lot of brands saying, listen, I've got energy that's backing me up, and it's possible to have visibility, so what do you think? Same thing, no one believed in it. So I said, okay, I'm gonna travel, and I'm gonna do my concept, really give all my energy and passion into it, and in the worst case, my mom would be happy, and in the best case, my mom would be happy and I would have a sponsor. So I started to travel. So the first picture that you see there was a really travel-ish picture. Basically, I was traveling, and this was Cuba. I'm not even smoking, but you know, for the gram. So I did this picture, and I thought, okay, Mom and Fine can actually be a bit more than that. It can be maybe a bit funny. So I didn't need a sign for this one. So for this one, I started, okay, then I can do something funny. It can be something maybe a bit risky too. So every time I had the same message. I was here jumping out of a plane all the time with the same message, Mom, I'm fine. And step by step, I was going a bit further. I did with the Colombian army or climbing out of a mountain. This was probably the fakest Mom, I'm fine I've ever done. I was really not fine climbing that mountain. And then I was traveling and I was actually having my passion. My goal was not to become an influencer. At the time, I didn't know if it was even possible to make money. I just wanted to have a sponsor to travel a bit more. And then I started to put really a lot of energy. Some pictures took me 3 days, like this one, just to have like the good light, the sun on the good side, have the authorization, etc. It took me days, and the perspective, having people like when there is no one, ask people to go around, and well, in the end, it worked. After I posted the first picture on April 2016, and in June, so 2 months after, the Instagram exploded. At the beginning, I had like 400, 500 people following the account. Most of them were my family. So after that, like ABC, Cosmopolitan, Fox News, everyone, Kim Kardashian mom, so I made it. They started to speak about it, and I was like, okay, then from one day to another, I had 100,000 followers. And it started, like some brands had an interest and they were proposing some exchanges. They were saying, okay, you can travel with us in exchange of advertising, etc. And this is the moment where it's difficult. Brands come to you and they say, okay, you can do this or that, but is there a real match with the DNA of Mom and Fine? Is it possible to do something together? And when you don't have money, brands are coming and it's difficult to say, okay, what do I put first? The DNA of my account or money, and if I have money, I can continue a bit more and to produce more content. Here in this case, I decided not to work with a lot of brands that were proposing things, just to stay focused on what I wanted to do. And I also wanted to improve my skills. If you remember well, the first picture, well, there's quite a difference. The first one is India, the second one is Morocco, and the third one is Japan. And every time I was trying to learn more and try to do it as professional as I could. And this is an example. This was my favorite picture. Just to explain the struggle, I had to put my camera somewhere, hoping that they were not stealing it, then running and then coming back and do this like this, being in the sunlight and the sun rays, sorry, and then hoping that when I would come back it would still be there. It was not good, so to do it again and again. And in the end, I had it, and I was super happy with that picture. And then one day, I had this guy. And this guy changed everything for me. So if you don't see it, maybe you don't see it from far. Actually, the guy tattooed himself Mom and Fine on the arm. And some people are shocked, some people were surprised, and some people were laughing. They were saying, "Oh, that's special." But when I saw this, it was totally different for me, because you have to understand that when you're trying to do a concept and make a concept, build it, and then step by step you've got some likes and you've got some comments. It's nice for your ego, but it can actually be dangerous for your ego. But it's nothing more. And then that day, this guy came up to me and said, "Listen, my life changed. I started to travel, and I tattooed myself what you did, like your philosophy." And for the first time, I could realize that it had an impact, like in real life. Like the guy changed his life after my post. So I was like, I hope it's going well for him. And so, step by step, I realized that I had a responsibility. It was nice. I was able to finally travel and make a bit of money. And then I realized that if someone was able to do this, I had a responsibility. Here there are like, I don't know how many, 100, 200, 300 people, I don't know. And when you do a story, when you take your phone, in 15 seconds I'm able to talk to, let's say, something like 50,000 people. It's like the biggest stadium of Belgium. So when you realize this, you think and you say, okay, what's going to be my message? How do I want to remember? What's going to be my impact in society? And I decided that now that I was able to travel more and that I managed to have my goal, I wanted to do a humanitarian project. I did many with the Belgian Agency of Development in Morocco, here in St. Martin. If I had a bit more time, I could explain you because this project was really amazing. And thanks to that, I was able to talk in front of a crowd, like you. I explained that it was possible, thanks to the project that I did in St. Martin, to transform something in real society to do something big. And then, step by step, it went crazy. A bit later, I became ambassador for some brands, and in Mexico, an example, my pictures were on huge and big billboards. After that, I continued thanks to this prize, the first prize that I had. I had a prize for Best Philanthropy in Monaco and at the Influencer Awards. Some other people started to recognize the work that was behind. And in this case, I went with UNICEF of Madagascar. I went at Madagascar for them, and I was trying to help some companies that are struggling at the moment. You have to understand that UNICEF is a good example. It's a big structure that has been working and having the same workflow for years. Basically what they do, usually maybe you've seen it, they send some letters, and when you have a lot of people that are from the third age, these letters actually work. They receive some donations, but in a few years, what's going to happen, and not in a long time, when the pyramid of age is going to invert, like, you know, all those people eventually, of course, are going to die. And the way of communicating is going to be totally different. Before, they were pushing their own content through different medium. They were saying, okay, UNICEF, this is the logo, this is the message, this is how we communicate. And they were doing this on the same on television, radio, or on press, on paper. But now, giving the message to an influencer starts to be really important because now we consume more and more mobile. And giving the opportunity to someone else to give your message, this is a risk for them, but they have to do it, otherwise they're going to have problems. So in 2018, and actually crazy, but just like a week and a half ago, I managed to have like a second time the prize. I'm really honored and thankful for that. I had the prize for Best Philanthropy and Influencer of the Year in front of people that had a lot of people following them, like millions and millions. And I'm super happy because they understood what I was trying to do. And even if I had less followers, it was the message I was trying to give. And in the end, thanks to that, this is to end my story. Now I'm trying to build a school made out of recycled plastic for disadvantaged children in Mexico. But there is a twist. It's without the help of any brand that has a marketing interest and without the help of government. I won't mention who, but some brands came up and they say, okay, the project cost 150,000 euros. And they said, okay, we pay for everything. And of course, again, it's the same thing. What do you want to do? Do you want to accept and build your school and you don't have any problems? Or do you want to say, okay, I want to do it on my own and prove that influence can actually work? So at the moment, we've got the land. We've got 200 teams of architects that participated in a contest where they chose me, the project, to do the school. And it's working. At the moment, without any money, any fundraising, we are doing it. So this is to introduce my story. And now I would like to introduce the Belgian market and influencer marketing in general. So influencer marketing has a bad reputation. And sometimes I'm a bit ashamed to say that I'm working as an influencer. Basically, I don't really know what it means, but I know what people have in mind. What they have in mind is like, let's be honest, these girls that are selling makeup, can you raise your hand if you think that influencer marketing most of the time is like girls putting makeup and doing lifestyle? Okay. Who are following people on Instagram in this room? Okay, quite a lot. Okay, so the thing here is that there are a lot of people that you can imagine that are actual influencers too. They have a big crowd on social media, and if they do something, it has an impact. Elon Musk, if he does a tweet, we saw it like the stock market can change. If you think about photographers like Steve McCurry, he has a big crowd. If he says that his best camera that he ever had was Canon, I swear that the camera the next day, the stock market goes up and a lot of people buy it. But people don't think as them like influencers, because influencers is more than girls that makeup and lifestyle and things like this. And let's be honest, I like travel pictures, I like apps, and I like all these things. I'm not going to spit on it. But it's just I'm trying to give you another idea of influencer, what marketing is. For every single company there is an influencer, but maybe you don't know it yet. So the influencer market is growing at an incredible rate. Like an example, in 2000, I took it on purpose. I do it on purpose. 2015, I took the decision to quit Belgium, and in 2016 the account was created, and now it's approximately between 7 and 8 billion worth as market, so 16 times the amount when I started. So from there are some facts and figures that now people start to know. I'm going to go quick. 40% of people made a purchase after seeing an influencer post, and it's way more now. 75% of the working population in 2025 will be millennials. So at the moment, there is like a big disruption between my generation and the generation below and the generation of my parents. Why? Because before, as I said, if there was the television and the radio was there, and then after it was television, there was not a big difference. It was horizontal. Vertical, sorry. It was vertical. So television was giving you the information, you were taking it, that was it. But now it's totally different. Now it's horizontal. I'm not a journalist, and I'm giving information or I'm sharing things with people on the same level. So this is totally different. And then, if you noticed, I think that in every country around the world where I've been working, television is suffering. And some television understood that they had to work with influencers to produce content, and some others are facing them. And in this case, on the last 5 years, we saw that 40% of people are watching less, especially millennials, and we see it even in Belgium. Like RTL was not so long ago having some issues, and I think that a lot will face the same thing. And here I want to prove something that's really important. The difference between celebrities before, when you were seeing them on television, like, let's say, I don't know, like a movie star. Imagine Leonardo DiCaprio. We'll take someone that everyone knows. So before, the relationship that you had with him was the following. You were watching a movie during a certain amount of time, and you liked him. You like him in Titanic, Wolf of Wall Street, and all these things. But if you add up all the amount of time that you watched him, it's going to be a couple of hours. Maybe you saw some interviews, and let's say it's going to be 1 or 2 days. But here, you have to understand that the people that are following us, they are doing it on a daily basis, the people that they really like, of course. Every day to stories, like stories are small videos that you post every day that disappear after 24 hours. And so there is a relationship that starts, if you really like the person, that you start to know it a little bit more and a little bit more. And here, there was a study that was proving that influencers were almost seen as friends, especially YouTubers, because you spend more time in its videos. Then there was another study that was saying in the US that most of the young people now, the first thing that they want to be when they're older is a YouTuber. So I don't know really what to think about it, because I have like this love and hate relationship with social media, but if it's done in a good way, I think it can be amazing. Here, who has heard of KSI and Logan Paul? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so a quarter, I would say. A quarter, yeah, something like this. So to give you an idea of this is exactly the difference that I'm talking about. Logan Paul is one of the biggest influencers in the US, and KSI is from London. They organized a boxing game between them two, and you have to understand that it generated approximately $11 million. Like the boxing game, people were paying $160 to be able to watch it, $10 on pay-per-view, and it generated a lot of money. They are not boxers. And it was the #1 boxing game, I think, or #2 last year in England. So there is a big thing, and I thought, okay, this is other people, but I can give you an example that happened to me. Some of you may have heard it, but this year there was a company in Canada that took Mom fine. They did, I'm not going to say who, basically they took everything, the same logo, same font, same color, same way of communicating to sell clothes. They did 10,000 t-shirts, 200,000 bags, and they did copy-paste, literally. They took even influencers to sell these t-shirts and putting Mom fine signs. I was protected in Europe. I wasn't everywhere in the world because it was costing a lot of money. But then we started to talk together, and they were saying, okay, we will have a deal, we can do something together, and then after, in my bag, they deposited Mom fine. When I heard that, I went really crazy, and I decided to go to Canada, talk about it, and the press started to speak about it, influencers around the world started to speak about it, and they were not doing anything, so I decided to go and camp in front of their office. I decided to stay there. You have to understand that this fight lasted for weeks, it lasted for 17 days. I camped in front of their office through heat waves, through really big rains, and I was by myself. I didn't know anyone in Canada. I had never been in the country. The first thing that I did was going in this place. And it went crazy. The next thing that happens, they were posting some things. As you can see, they had 720 likes. And all my community and people around the world started to go against them. Here you can see there are 4,807 comments. Even on my best post, I never had that many comments. Everyone went against them, explaining that what they were doing was wrong, that they should give me my brand back, and people were offended. And of course, you might think, okay, but this is online. Are they real followers? Is it in real life, etc.? Well, yes. People start to come, and they start to camp with me. They came, they put some tents, and day by day there were more and more people. Here in this case, at the end, so Monday I was by myself, I think it was a Monday. Then Tuesday, 1 or 2 people were giving food, then a tent, and then more and more and more. At the end, there were 50 people. The pressure was so high that at the end, they gave my brand back, I had the license, and it went really well, and we found an agreement, and thanks very much for them for doing the right thing. So I realized that there is a power, there is something that you can do where you can modify the behavior of some people. Of course, it depends for what. Here, I think it was a good cause. I think that fighting for, there was a hashtag called Respect Young Creators, because we were tired of people stealing our ideas, so it worked in this case. Then, I want to talk today about something that I noticed, because I've been working with a lot of brands. Volvo, I'm ambassador for Volvo of Canon, with European institution. I've been working with a lot of brands. But every single time when you start, there is this thing where you notice that you have like the senior problem, I call it. What is the senior problem? As I said, there is a generation that, of course, is in charge. They are senior marketing, they take decisions, and they're not used to it. We saw it here, like not a lot of people are like really connected. They don't know who is like that influencer, and they don't really understand it, and it's normal. But then they are not on social media, and they have to take decisions, and it's complicated for them. So they judge and they say, okay, well, if I have to be on it, and we see the impact, and it costs less, and all these things, I will take some people that have that many million followers. And actually, it's wrong. The way they do it is actually wrong, and sometimes really wrong. Some campaigns are not working, and I can give you some examples. So here, this is a slide that I took from an agency that's called Native Nation that really was explaining super well the thing. In the US in 2013, it's approximately the same situation in Belgium. We are like 5 years away, like a bit before, even sometimes more for other figures. You can see that 5%, we were spending 5% of our time on watching like magazines. Then radio was 12%, TV 38%, internet 25%, and then mobile was 20%. And the amount of money spent on ads was 4% for mobile. Of course, a bit later, it got corrected, so that was the opportunity. Now, we start to know the huge amount of time that we're spending on our phones, especially our generation, and things are changing. And I want to show how it has been changing on just 3 years for me. I compare this to a revolution. I know it sounds like a big word, etc., but let me explain you how. Basically, a revolution, Idriss Aberkan explained that it's 3 things: ridiculous, dangerous, and logical. All the time. So I will give you an example. The women are allowed to vote. So at the beginning, it was ridiculous. Then after, it was dangerous, if they're not at home and they've got power, etc. And then after, it becomes logical. Same thing for abolition of slavery. Ridiculous, dangerous, and logical. And then lately, scientific, like when we were saying that Earth rotates around the sun, it's ridiculous, then it's dangerous for religion, and then after it's logical. Well, for me, I really experienced this. At the beginning, they thought that what I wanted to do was ridiculous. My father was telling me sentences like, find yourself a real job. What are you doing? Then after, it's dangerous. We are approximately in this moment. Dangerous, why? Because television, or media in general, see us as competition, and they are right. But we could work together, but still they didn't understand this thing. But then after the last part, it will be logical. It will be, okay, it's not possible, something different. So here, I've got some tips. I know that there are a lot of people that are working digital, and if you want to learn how to work with influencers, here are some tips. The first thing that you have to understand is don't think too much about figures. Figures, if you see 2 million, 3 million, 10,000, etc., it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the DNA. What are the values? What's the story of the person that is in front of you? What does he stand for? Is it a match with your own company? If you're Coca-Cola and the person has been working before with Pepsi, do you really want to be going from one to another, etc., etc.? Like, you have to understand who you have in front and make some research. It takes time, but it's worth it. The second thing is that you have to take time to analyze, and this time I'm talking about figures. We all know that there are fake followers. You can buy it, but it's possible to see it. And here are two websites where you can analyze an influencer. The first one is Social Blade, where it's not as good as the second one, which is Hype Editor. Hype Editor allows you to really know a lot. What's the sex, what's the age, what's the country, and all these things. But now we created a hub of influencers, and I'm helping influencers develop themselves in markets like Belgium, and we noticed that Hype Editor has problems for the country. Not for age, not for sex, but for country. Then the third one is you don't have to put your own message through them. So an example, if I do something like I take a Coca-Cola bottle and I'm like, hey, happiness and all these things, this is not me. I'm not going to communicate like this is going to do the opposite effect. Let them communicate their own way. If there is a match with the DNA, there won't be any problem. Then content and long term, this is the most important. Content is key. Content is the most important that you can have. Like if you want to do something, tell a story or say something that is important, there is a way of saying it, and content is the most important. And second, it comes with the second thing. If you want to do a good story, make it long. When you're using television and you're doing advertising and you're doing all these things, you're not coming to television saying, hey, do this one post once. You do it several times during a long time, this way people know it, and do some long-term partnerships. I will give you another example. I did a campaign last year, and I don't know if it was in front all the time. I feel better like this. So this year, I did a campaign with Cristiano Ronaldo. I created a story that was really nice. The idea was simple. I went to see the Clásico in Spain, and there was the football game, and my mom likes to make fun with me, and she texted me to say, hey, can you have a picture with Cristiano Ronaldo? Let's be honest, it's super complicated. He has 150, 170 million people following him. He has a team bigger than this for communication, and we just did something and we said, okay, I will try to do it. And I created the story to be able, through an agency and a sponsor that I found, etc., to be able to have a picture with him. And when I pitched the project, I said, listen, believe me, if I do just one post, it won't be good. They didn't listen to me. There was like, one moment, it's like American Tourister, you can see like the thing at the back. And I said, I'm sure it won't work. It was the best, one of the best pictures that I had. He had like 40,000 likes, something like this. And it worked really well. And then I said, okay, we will make a test and you will see what I meant. I worked with Canon during 1 year, and I said, listen, I'm not going to do something crazy. I just want to tell the story that I was bad at picture and I want to improve it. I'm taking some material and show the evolution. And I'm going to do it through the year. But not as obvious and not as big as the campaign with Cristiano Ronaldo. I made a test. I wanted to prove that I was right. I wanted to see if I was right, and it proved itself. So I did a story saying, listen, who do you remember the campaign that I did with Cristiano Ronaldo? I think I had like 90% of people said that they remembered. Okay, do you remember for who it was? And the amount was, I think, like something like 14 or 15%. So of course, I was like, wow, that's really bad for the brand. If they invest this money, it's bad. Then I said, okay, do you know if I'm ambassador for a brand? I said yes. It was yes or no. They said yes. Most of them, this was easy. And then I said, can you pick up or put the name of the brand? And Canon exploded. So I showed this to the brand, and I came back to American Tourister and I said, listen, this is what I was talking about. This is the problem. So here, I'm going to go quick to here because I just have 1 minute. There were a lot of airline companies that wanted to see me, and they said, okay, we can do something together, and they wanted to put me next to a pilot. And I refused. I said, no, 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 for a long time. And there is one that said, okay, you can communicate your way, we will believe and do what you want. And I did this thing. For a long time, I didn't see my mom, and I was sad because I couldn't have a ticket, and I contacted a Mexican brand, and I said, okay, I asked my cousin to go like this and to be able to have like this video. Luckily, she was wearing a t-shirt, my t-shirt, and then, well, this happened. Usually she smiles, I can show it later, she's here. Well, not now, this was something that I did, and I said simple, in a simple way. I said, thanks to the company that did that for me. My mom was happy, I was happy, and the airline, you can see them, and I was mentioning. I just said one thing, if I had 100,000 views, with what a million views, and I had 100,000 people following me with this, do you believe in what I do? And then the brand said, okay, we will do something together. It got shared by a lot of media, and it had like 7 or 8 million views, because I knew that this is the type of thing that works, it's content. So after, they allowed me to do this thing. I have a plane that's flying above the US, not anymore, like it just finished now, but with Mom I'm Fine written on it. So just to go quick now, I'm gonna go quick, like the opportunity is like it's low price. In 2008, Google ads were cents. Same thing with Facebook, who's gonna make advertising with Facebook? And now it's logical. And then after, now it's influencer marketing, but it's rising. So just to finish, and this is the last thing that I want to show you, for Belgium, I really wanted to do something when the terrorist attack happened. If you remember, it was in 2016, it was really a problem. And they were saying, no, we don't believe it, and it was complicated. And at the end, I pushed so much that they said, okay, what do you want to do? And I said, I'm going to travel for free, but I just want you to see what it is. And this is what we did, and it got taken again by all the media. It was for National Day. Of course, a lot of work, really difficult for the drone authorization, for the cosmonaut outfit, and for the Mom I'm Fine that's pretty big. And so, I just want to finish with this. I want to say that, to me, influencer marketing really works. It depends how you do it. It's way more work because, for example, if you're going to do advertising, before you were saying, okay, I just pick up this thing and I put it there. But here, picking up something means a lot. Do they have a sex tape? Is it real followers, etc., etc. So I just want you to please pay more attention, because I think that if you're going to be late, it's going to be too complicated in the future. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. Fascinating story, definitely. For your information, by the way, we will be joined by 3 other influencers at the end of the day for a long conversation around all the ins and outs of influence marketing. So today on stage by Dennis Jr. from Salesforce, who is strategic account executive, and they will be sharing a case about how Salesforce was helping Krefel reaching business objectives. So please welcome on stage Donovan first, Dennis Juno, and then Donovan Mazzoni.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Denis Juno, Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Before I start the traditional forward-looking statement slides, it just says that we are a stock-listed company, and so if you want to buy a Salesforce product, you have to do that based on what's currently available. I'd like to thank you all for being there. As one of the main sponsors of Digital First, we are really happy to be here. We are really happy to see you all here today. I know that you're not there for me. I know that you're there for Donovan and for the Krefel case. So I'm going to do a very short introduction about Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and then we will move directly to Donovan and see how Krefel is using Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So it's not a surprise anymore. We are today in what we call the fourth industrial revolution. So in terms of marketing, over the last 3 centuries, we moved from word-of-mouth marketing to mass marketing that we are actually still using today. So radio spot is definitively one of the best examples. 25 years ago, everyone moved on the internet, building websites, and today it's called intelligent marketing. So basically the question is, okay, but what's different between intelligent marketing and digital marketing? It's actually mainly due to the amount of data that are available, but also our capacity today, thanks to artificial intelligence and machine learning, to process all these data. So you as a company, you call that data, but all customers or consumers, they call that information. So we do have a lot of data today, but they do have a lot of information about you and about what you're doing. So of course, they have access to the traditional information that you display on your own channels, such as the website, the mobile application, the social networks, but they also have access to, I would say, independent information on blogs, on comparison tools, on other social networks where we are not all. So actually all the information that they have makes the consumer more empowered than ever. And this is true. We did a study last year and it shows that almost 80% of the customers says that the experience is as important as the product or the service. And I mean, you know that today you are not going to make the difference thanks to one specific product. It's the entire package. So this obliges you to deliver a better customer experience. And I know you are going to say, yeah, of course, but we know that, nothing new here, but how do we do that? At Salesforce, we strongly believe that the customer has to be in the middle of everything that we do. And actually, this is the same for Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So basically, what we do is we work on 3 pillars that are the know, the personalize, and the engage. Let me deep dive very quickly into 3 main pillars, and you will see how important they are for a company such as Krefel, and why it works so well, and you will see how great are the results after that. Know your customer. Today, many of the company I'm talking with, they have a lot of information, a lot of data on their customer, but everything is siloed. You need to have a place where you can plug all your different data sources in one single place to make sure to have the full view on your customer. You need to have access, okay, he visited that page on the website. He bought that product. He opened one ticket because he wasn't happy about this very specific service. You need to have a view on that. And that's really important. Why? Just because when you know your customer, you can create the message. You can do personalization. It sounds really obvious, but I can tell you that a lot of companies today, they are not capable of doing that because they don't know the customer. And of course, this personalization is supported by Einstein, that is our artificial intelligence engine. So we do a lot of recommendation. We help you to better understand the next best actions. We help you to display the right product for your customer. So here we just, I would say, prepare the message. And then we engage. And guess what? We don't care on which channel you are going to engage. For us, it's the same. So that's the reason why Salesforce Marketing Cloud is natively an omni-channel solution. At the end, if you communicate with me via email, or via push notification, or via SMS, advertising, social networks, it's the same. As long as you go where the customer is, and with the channels that he wants to get contact with. And finally, all these three pillars are processed by analytics and artificial intelligence. It's super important for us to make sure that we analyze all the time the entire process to make sure to better recommend and to improve this process. So let me say that again. You have to know your customer, to be able to personalize the message, and then to engage with this customer, whatever the channel is. A trailblazer for us is someone who is part of the Salesforce community. So it's a Salesforce employee, I'm a trailblazer, it's a Salesforce partner, but it's also our customers. So our customers are using the Salesforce platform to change the way they are working today and to improve what they are doing today. So let me introduce you to Donovan, who is going to explain you how Krefel is working with Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Thank you.
Thank you, Denis. Thank you for having me on stage also. Thank you for the great introduction. So my name is Donovan Mazzoni, and I work at Krefel. So this is our logo, right? I think most of you know who Krefel is. And today I'm going to talk about Krefel, and of course Salesforce Marketing Cloud. I'm also going to talk about marketing automation in general. So perhaps a quick word on Krefel. Who are we? Well, we are a retailer, of course, in consumer electronics. So we sell more or less everything with a plug. So that's a dishwasher, washing machines, dryers, smartphones, you name it, we sell it. We've been around since 1958, so that's already 61 years. Last year we had our 60th birthday, and we celebrated that by giving away a bunch of TVs for the World Cup. So thank you also, Eden Azar, for that. And in Belgium we have 74 shops, so we have great coverage throughout Belgium. We have one web shop. It has been around since 2010, and we also have a few other brands. Here they are. So we have Krefel Kitchens, of course, started in '79. We're located in 35 showrooms. So if you want to get a great kitchen, a beautiful kitchen, you just come over to one of those 35 showrooms. There's always one near you, and we'll hook you up. Next to that we have Hive International. Hive International is more or less the same thing as Krefel, also a retailer in consumer electronics. They've been around since '75, and they have 11 shops located in Luxembourg. Next to that we have Tones, and Tones is also a retailer. They sell computer components, and they sell primarily processors, motherboards, etc. If you want to get a killer gaming PC, for instance, you can come to Tones. We will help you out. You can even build it yourself. You can put in water cooling. You can put in LED lights if that's your thing, and we will hook you up as well. So these are our brands. And about marketing automation, for us it's actually quite simple. It's getting the right message to the right customer at the right time, and we want to do that every single time. So before Salesforce Marketing Cloud, we had another tool, another marketing automation tool, but it was way too complicated. So we said to ourselves, we sat down with the team, we're going to need a new marketing tool, right? So here's the journey to a new tool. First, we set up a lot of requirements. We had a huge list of requirements, and I broke them down for you in just 4 requirements. It was for us really important. So the first thing was we needed something that was a lot easier to use, because with the former marketing automation tool, things were really complicated. So we wanted to be able to do some fast onboarding, get new people working on the tool as quickly as possible. Also, we were looking for a tool that had good support. We want to be able to look for stuff ourselves if that's necessary. If we post a support ticket, we want to get an answer in 4 hours, right? And also we needed a friendly user interface so people could immediately start working on the marketing automation tool. Next to that, we wanted to have all the toys out there. We wanted to be complete. So we wanted to be able to send out newsletters, emails. We wanted to create journeys. We wanted to have audience which we could create on the fly. We wanted to have some kind of social integration so we could do some social posting, social listening. We wanted to be able to build that one-to-one relationship with the customer. That was really key to us. And also, we wanted it to have some kind of AI machine learning integrated, so the system itself could do recommendations to us, things perhaps we wouldn't notice, right? Another thing that was also key, we need something modular. We have a small team working on marketing automation, so today we have our set of features, but perhaps tomorrow we want to add more features, right? So we want to be able to do that in a modular way. Also, we needed a marketplace so we could add third-party apps if necessary. And so the last requirement we needed something that was future-proof. So we were looking for a software vendor with a plan that invested in new features themselves, that had clear milestones and a clear vision on marketing automation. Since we're small, we don't want to invent the wheel at Krefel, we just want to use the wheel. So that was also key to us. Of course, this might not come as a surprise. Eventually there was a clear winner, and that was Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Now, just a quick word about our infrastructure. I think I can say that, especially for Belgium, we kind of have a unique infrastructure at Krefel. We have this thing called headless e-commerce, so decoupled e-commerce. And what we've actually done is we have an SAP Commerce at the back. We've connected that via APIs to the front, and that's a React front end, which is hosted on AWS. And it's connected via API, right? Why am I saying this? Because a lot of salespeople will tell you it's impossible to connect SAP Commerce with Salesforce Marketing Cloud, perhaps even the other way around. Well, it is. It's always possible, as long as you have those APIs exposed, right? And so that's what we did. We integrated Salesforce Marketing Cloud with SAP, and it went quite well. So perhaps a quick word about the implementation. I have a timeline for you here. Just to show you how quick we actually onboarded everything and how quickly everything was ready. So we started in February 2019. We received access to the platform. It was actually Valentine's Day, Denis. And we started templating newsletters. We took the data of our legacy systems. We started importing that. And I must emphasize this. You're not going to be able to do this by yourself, right? So you're going to need a partner for you to do that for you. And we went for Forward because they have a lot of retail experience and they helped us out tremendously. So they created for us 1 month later the data model, which is really important. That's really key. That's where it all starts, right? We did the first newsletters. We created those first journeys. We did that ERP AS400. Yeah, we're still on AS400 integration. So all these CSV, these nifty CSV files started coming in. 1 month later, we did the website integration, so via API. We set up all those forms. And we started sending out those first targeted campaigns. In May, we onboarded all the other brands, so Kitchens, Hive International, and Tones. And in that warm month of July, Einstein was finally ready. It takes some time. He needs to get to know who your customers are. He needs to read that customer behavior, and then we could actually do some personalization. So where are we at today? Well, today, and I think it's around 8 months later, we're doing abandoned shopping carts. We're sending out personalized newsletters. And we're also sending out dedicated emails based on sales. So only in 8 months we're doing all that. So let me just take you on a deep dive to more intelligent marketing. So the first thing is you want to talk to the right customer, right? So first you need to know your customer, otherwise it's impossible. And you have, we created this data model in Salesforce Marketing Cloud where we have this 360 customer view. So what we've done here, we've connected all the dots. We've connected offline sales, online sales. We've connected online behavior. We've connected also email behavior, so we can actually see who is opening emails without doing anything, right? And you can also connect, if you want, and if you have that to your disposal, third-party data. And then afterwards you can start segmenting. I have an example here, for instance, we have a reopening of a new store, or a reopening of a store at Lier. What we're doing here, we just segmented the people based on postal codes, no-brainer. Also based on language, also no-brainer. And also based on the favorite store. But what we're doing here is not, we will send these people an email, but at the same time we can use them in audiences. So we can actually remarket them on Facebook, Google Ads, etc. And that's actually pretty cool. Another thing that you want to do is you want to avoid you send out too many messages to the same people, right? So you can actually include that in the journey. You can target undersaturated people and exclude oversaturated people. You can compare that from capping and display advertising, right? You don't want to send too much emails because otherwise people will start opting out. Okay, so I talked about the right customer, and of course you want to send out the right message. So perhaps a quick word about what we used to do. What we used to do was, well, we send out these one-size-fits-all newsletters, bulky newsletters, and we send them out to everyone, right? And we didn't really use customer data a lot. And of course then you risk to send out very not so relevant messages. Let's say someone just bought a washing machine a week before. Well, you could actually send that same washing machine today in a newsletter, 100 euros cheaper, right? So that's actually just bad customer experience. The client will not be happy with that. So you want to avoid that at all costs. I'm losing my microphone here, okay. There you go. What are we doing today? Well, today we are sending out personalized newsletters. So we're taking into account customer behavior, customer data, sales data. And we have a few key placeholders throughout the newsletter. As you can see, the blue squares, these are the key placeholders, right? And what we do there, we're going to inject products based on what people are doing on our website, or perhaps what they've bought in the future. So we're doing retargeting, we're also doing cross-selling in these boxes. We still have a general message, like for instance now we have the birthday promotions, and they're still on, by the way, for 1 week. So if you need a great deal, just go to our website, krefel.be, and you can check out all of our deals. They're still up for 1 week, so there's some kind of urgency there, right? And we also do that for editorial content. So that's the second blue box, and we also inject personalized content here. And I have a few results for you. First, I'm going to take a quick sip, I'm sorry. So, open rates. When we actually started sending personalized newsletters, went up 15%. Okay, that's not really shocking, right? We're still happy with that. But then, if we look at visitors, it went up by 119%. It's pretty cool, right? But then if we look at sales, only via this channel, it went up by a whopping 144%. So we are really happy with this. Some other thing we do is, that's also a no-brainer, especially in e-commerce. A lot of people working in e-commerce here. Can I see some hands, e-commerce people? Okay, cool. You all know abandoned shopping cart, right? So let me just quickly explain. Let's say you're in your couch, you're browsing, of course, on krefel.be, and you're putting products in your shopping basket, and all of a sudden you're distracted. Someone's knocking at your door, you get a phone call by your mom, or perhaps your favorite TV show is on, FC de Kampioenen, you're distracted, you're not checking out. And from an e-commerce perspective, we don't like that, right? It makes us sad. So we want you to check out. And so what are we gonna do? We're gonna send you an email. It's actually quite simple, it's just a simple heads up. Within 24 hours, we're gonna tell you, hey, didn't you forget about something? And actually, we don't even have an incentive, so no discounts, nothing whatsoever. Just a quick reminder. And we've seen that we can recover 8% sales via this channel alone. And that's just the beginning. We're still optimizing this, and we think we can go up to 10%. So this is also a great result. Some other thing, again, for these e-commerce people, in e-commerce, reviews are key. We want to get as much reviews as possible for products. So here, for instance, you have a client who bought a dishwasher. Well, he bought it like a week ago. Today he's gonna receive an email, and we're gonna ask him. We want to know what you think about the dishwasher, right? And we want you to write a review on the website. And while you're at it, we want you to give some feedback about Krefel. about your in-store experience, about the delivery experience, etc. And there is also an incentive connected to it. So if you actually write a review on the website, you can actually win 100 euros e-voucher, Krefel e-vouchers. And what we've seen since we've launched this is that we get 95% more reviews by this channel. So this is also a great result. This is also a no-brainer. I think a lot of people do this, but still we have a couple of them running all the time. So this is simple, dedicated message. Like for instance, here we have an iPhone 11 who came out a few weeks ago. Well, we're gonna segment the target group. We're gonna get people who bought an iPhone 9, an iPhone 10. We did some research on our website for high-end phones, right? And we're gonna send them this message. At the same time, we're gonna send an audience towards Facebook, towards Google Ads, etc. And so a lot of people, and we're just going to give them a heads up, right? We're going to tell them, look, iPhone 11 just came out, and you can go to Krefel now and you can pre-order the iPhone 11. And this works quite well. Okay, so you want to send the right message, but you also want to send it through the right channel. And within Salesforce Marketing Cloud, you have this thing called Advertising Studio. And what you can do in Advertising Studio is you can actually build audiences real time. You can use customer data, you can use customer behavior, you can use all those email interactions. You can also use historical sales data. And then afterwards you can use all of that information, all these audiences, you can use that in Google, you can use that in Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest. And on top of that, you can actually create lookalike audiences for lead generation on the fly, or similar audiences if you want. Well, here I've laid out this journey, and what we're doing here is actually quite simple. We send a customer an email, we wait a few days, he didn't open the email, we're going to send a second one, he did nothing with that. Well, then we're going to send him through an audience, or perhaps we want to send him a text message, or we want to do a data extraction for direct mailing, so we can actually send him a letter, or we can connect third-party apps, and we can do that all from within one journey. So that's pretty cool. And you want to send all these messages, because we send out a lot of messages, at the right time. And from within Einstein, you have this thing called send time optimization. And what we do basically is we just tell Einstein, well, we want to send this email in between Monday and Friday. And you just tell us what's the best time, when people are more likely to open it, to click it. And what we've seen is that this increases open rates enormously. What we also saw, and this is kind of bizarre, that's the third bar you see right there, that a lot of our customers, apparently they open emails at Monday morning, 2 a.m. So I guess we must have a lot of hairdressers or something in our database, but that's really bizarre. On the other hand, we're really happy with the open rates, so it's actually working quite well. Another thing I wanted to emphasize is support. With our previous marketing automation tool, well, support was, pardon my French, it sucked. It was really bad. We had to wait 5 days for feedback, well, and then you get stuck, right? So I think Salesforce, they really thought this through. And you have a few things. So you have Trailhead, where you can actually learn skills, where you can actually onboard new people. Next to that, you have the Trailblazer community, where you can actually go yourself, ask questions to the community, and 9 times out of 10, the questions you have, they're already answered, so you can just Google it, you're gonna find the answer right there, and you can actually move on. And if that doesn't work for you, you can even have premium support, we have that, and you can have an answer in 4 hours tops. We have great SLAs, and I must say, we're really happy with support overall. Okay, this is almost one of my last slides. I still have a few key takeaways for you guys. So first and foremost, do your homework. If you're looking for a new marketing automation tool, well, there are a lot of tools out there, right? So make a list of requirements. Then afterwards, test and demo. And make sure it's not a protected demo. Salespeople like to give protected demos. Avoid that. Go inside the tool yourself and see if it's a fit. Also, get a dedicated team. It's not a one-man job. You need to have at least, we started with 1 man actually, and now we have 2, so that's a lot better. Also connect all your data points. That's where it all starts, right? So you have to connect that internal, that external data. You need to get to know your customer. That's really important, that's key. And of course, you need to trial, and don't be afraid to try new stuff. do some A/B testing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You need to test new scenarios. This is a slide for our self-promotion in a way. We're still looking for a lot of people. So if you like my story and if you want to write a retail story with us in Belgium, I would strongly advise you to go to our website, krefel.be/jobs, and apply for one of the many jobs we still have open. Well, I would like to thank you for your undivided attention. If you still have questions, you can always go to the booth, the Salesforce booth right there to the left. If you wanna talk to me directly, you can always do so on LinkedIn. So that's LinkedIn / and I know it's a mouthful, Donovan Mazzoni, and we can hook up later on. So thank you very much.
Well, during the internet bubble, he joined Gaetan Godart, where he actually held different roles such as sales and marketing management. After 8 years, he decided to step over to Microsoft, and I keep falling, it's fine. Where he rose the position of head of Microsoft advertising for Belgium. So that is our great pleasure to have Alexis with us here today to talk about how important it is today to deal with all these connections we have through the network and specifically with the family of apps at Facebook. Alexis, thank you for being with us. Please welcome Alexis Lebedoff.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. I think it's the second time in the last 8 years that I have the pleasure to be on this stage. But it's not therefore that it's so important for us to be here, because I had the chance to walk through the fair, and I already recognized many partner companies, but also some colleagues from the media and the creative industry. So all of these are important to us, because all of you are the ones actually using our family of apps and integrating those in the marketing strategies that you present to your customers to help them to get to growth. So I've been at Facebook for the last 8 years, but Facebook has been around for longer, for 15 years, still not that long. And over the last 15 years, we've learned a lot actually from you, from our users, and also from what they expect on our platforms. And today, it's my objective to share with you some of these learnings and some of the consumer trends that we have identified and that are important as we think that you integrate in your campaigns. So we identified those trends as 4, and those are the 4 C's according to us. So those 4 C's stands for curation, for communities, the importance of conversation, and also the importance of commerce. We will get back to that a little bit later. But according to us, the distance between actually a good idea and the people has never been, it serves, and the people it serves has never been closer. By that I mean that whether you are, or your audience is in the room next door or at the other side of the world, the tools to reach your audience has never been as accessible or as available as it is today. And this makes us think that there has never been a better time to have a good idea. And this is true, actually, for both big brands, but also smaller brands. So that means also that today, businesses and well-established brands have the opportunity to meaningfully challenge themselves and inspire one another on the same playing field, same level. And when I discuss also with our partners, with our clients, and we discuss actually what opportunities they have for growth, but also what they see as challenge, often what I hear back is that the biggest challenge is probably that the next competitor will come from, and it isn't existing yet, or is a small brand, because today the entrance to enter a new market, a new industry, is way smaller than it has ever been. And to illustrate that, maybe you know that example, maybe you don't, but Huda Beauty is a company we work with in North America, but it's also expanding to the world. And Yuda actually is a person who started to use Instagram only 5 years ago. And she gives beauty tips on Instagram and on the internet. It turned out that her business became a $1 billion company, and Yuda herself has been ranked by Forbes as one of the 50 wealthiest self-made women in the world. What is so special here? Maybe the fact that before she started using Instagram, she was already writing tips on blogs on the internet, so nothing really special. But thanks to Instagram, and that really has been a turning point for her, she found a platform where there was already an audience available, and she used the tools that are accessible to her to reach her audiences and to apply marketing strategies. Now, we are bombarded with ideas and with ideas every day. And you know it just like I know it. We are confronted with 10,000s of brand and ad messages a day. But there are also some researches that show that only 12 of those 10,000s will have a lasting impression. So the question is, what separates a good idea that work from the ones that are forgotten? How do I make sure that my message, my brand, is one of the 12 and not one of the 10,000 that will be forgotten? And so what we think is that every brand, again, big or small, needs actually to find its purpose, needs to differentiate itself, needs to actually understand what is unique, but more important also how it brings value to its end customers. Once you have identified that, then only I would say that you are ready to embrace and to start developing your strategies, including the 4 consumer trends that we have identified. And then yes, as I said before, curation, community, conversation, and commerce. So, what about curation? Let's start with curation. Today, we have a huge choice and total control over what we watch, what we read, what we interact with, and what we buy. So that also means that as a business, actually we need to better understand our audiences, and that we need also to start creating content accordingly, personalized content for our audiences. Me, as a consumer, I expect tailored content for me as a person. But not only tailored content, but also formats, presented on formats and platforms that are important to me. And yes, I must admit that I spend a lot of time on digital platforms. You also won't be surprised maybe that 82% of customers have a more positive outlook on a company after seeing custom content. And today, this has been made possible thanks to technology. So whatever you do, always introduce a flavor of your business to every piece of content that you will produce. And that's, according to us, one of the only ways that you really can engage and connect with your customers. So, it is proven that multi-asset campaigns perform better. The results that you see here is a result of actually over 3 million brand lists that run on Facebook between, I think it's August 2017 and September 2018. And every metric, whether it's recall, top of mind awareness, message association, affinity, familiarity, has been influenced positively. So whatever you do, think about your audience, tailor your ideas, consider assets from a quick GIF or just like a still image to why not even start testing artificial reality and experiences, because that's the future. And I hope that I don't have to tell here anyone that you need to think it mobile first. A good example, and it's not only small brands but also bigger brands, huge brands just like Uber, that's an example we work with. Why? Last year at Facebook, we started a program that was named Create for Growth. The idea behind Create for Growth was to work with large brands to find new paths of growth by testing out actually multiple creative assets and also using machine learning to identify new audiences. So you could argue even Uber is looking for that. Yes. Why? Because actually they were on our platform and they were seeing that their performance was plateauing Why? Because actually they were only using broad messages targeted to broad audiences. As you can see here, what we changed is that we started to have a differentiated message in function of the target groups and based on their age, and we looked actually for insights linked with those age groups. For the youngsters, it was FOMO, fear of missing out. How can Uber actually help me to not miss actually the next party? On the other hand, for a little bit older people, if I may say so, 35 to 44, it's still okay, I'm out. It was about how can Uber help me actually gain time and win time. Creative was adapted, it was only shown to the right audience, and we used the audience of the inside of the audience. Results were there. So Uber is a strong community, and we are very fan of communities at Facebook. And therefore, communities may be also the second trend that we see. People have the power to build community today around their passions, and to us it's really crucial. It's even that crucial that it's part of our DNA, and it's also our mission. Our mission, and I will read it even though I know it by heart, is give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. Why am I saying that? Because today as a consumer and individuals, we increasingly expect businesses actually to identify, to participate in, and to also respect the communities to which we belong. And we also expect from them that they take us with us in the community that they represent. Why? Because there is a clear benefit. If you identify your brand with a strong community and you are engaged, you will increase brand loyalty. If you increase brand loyalty, you will increase brand equity, and then also, obviously, sales. Is it important? Yes, it's very much important. We have over 200 million, actually, people on the platform that are part of what we call meaningful groups. And that's a number of last year, so probably it's even higher today. And what are meaningful groups? Meaningful groups are social causes, but also political movements, new moms and dads groups, and many others. But as you can see, Facebook today is much more about how to build community than it was before, just only connecting with friends and what was important to them. We have also Instagram for that today. So an example would be Perus. Perus is a brand that launched in 2014. 3 friends backpacking in Peru, obviously, and they noticed that there were very nice shoes with Inca designs on those shoes. So they decided to start a company around that and to ship it around the world. Easily said, but then afterwards you know how it is. You have to still build that company. So they started to use very naturally tools that they had at first hand, just like Instagram and Facebook, to market their product across different countries. But what they did differently is that when they launched their brand, they also launched a community around that brand that was named, and that is still named, Two Shoes for School. So that means that for every pair of shoes that was bought, then there was one day that was funded for kids that are underprivileged and have 3 days of school. So 40,000 means that 200 kids went for free for 1 year to school. So that also means the importance of linking actually today your brand with a cause or with a community and making sure that you find that community back on Facebook or on Instagram. So there's a lot of conversations within, or communication within communities, and that brings us to our third actually trend, our third C, which is conversation. We are in an age, we think, that is changing, and where people expect businesses to be personal again. By that I mean first, the shops that you are shopping at, they were behind the corner, you had a relationship with the person in the store, then all that, or a big part of that disappeared. Bigger retailers came, then the internet came, and you started to buy online. But what today people think is important is that they want to have that bound back again. And so they want a personal relationship. And with messaging, a lot changed. With messaging, a lot of our communication actually changed. When you and I will start communicating over messaging, well, we want to express ourselves, but we also expect an immediate response. And if that's true for you and I as a person, it's also true for me as a person with a business. And so, by actually meeting customers' expectations around messaging, businesses can really develop a real relationship at scale, one-to-many actually, and again that will create loyalty for your brand. 20 billion messages are exchanged today between a person and a business on a monthly basis, and that's up to 2 billion the year before, so 10x. But what's more important, I think, is that as you can read, that 53% of the people who message businesses are also more likely to shop with them. So here, make sure that whatever you do, you are big or small, you also integrate that part of how can I integrate messaging into my, my strategy. A brand that does that very well is Lego. Lego actually started a marketing campaign, and they built a bot, and the bot is named Ralph, the Lego gift bot. And the objective of Ralph is to help you find the best and the appropriate present or the appropriate gift. So it will make recommendations. So whenever you come then through the funnel, so it's the entire funnel, you come on Facebook, you see an ad of Lego, you click on it, you are actually redirected to the bot, and then the bot starts questioning you about, okay, who are you, who do you want to give a present to, what's his age, what are the interests, what's your budget, etc., etc. Once all that information is collected, the bot will make a recommendation of all the different available products. And even better, it can also take you by the hand to make sure actually that you close the deal and that you can even buy it online. So maybe unlike other messaging, what is special with technologies and platforms just like today is that we can cover the entire purchase funnel, from discovery to actually purchase, effective purchase. And this brings us to the last trend that we see, which is commerce. People have never been as informed about the products and the service that they want to buy, and where and how that they want to buy it. So how do you actually identify the persons that are willing or wanting or maybe a potential customer of yours? Through data. And how also do you make sure that it's as frictionless as possible? Because that's really important. Because if you manage that well, there is a huge potential in front of you, a huge opportunity. E-commerce is still growing 20 times, actually 20% year over year. If you miss that, and businesses that miss actually that opportunity, well, they will face a problem. By that I mean that 83% of the persons that started, that have a bad experience with your online buying, says that they will not come back and that they will not shop with you again. And so that means that in the US, but we could easily find those numbers for Europe as well, every year $260 billion are left actually on the table, or I would say then in the shopping carts. So here, it's really super important that you think from the beginning, how do I create seamless experience, how do I make it as frictionless as possible. And today we are trying to offer you tools to do that, whether it's with Marketplace or whether it's with Instagram shopping that you might know. An example for that is Flair. It's a company out of the UK. And there was that guy, Davis Roberts, who actually 8 years ago was specialized, and that was his business. He was leasing sound systems to big companies and to festivals. But he thought, okay, I'm not so convinced about the quality of those sound systems, and he developed his own technology. Again, you are starting a business, where do you start afterwards to market it? Well, he started to work with us, with Facebook. His objective was on one hand to be as fast as possible in as many markets as possible, because he thought, okay, I want my technology to be shipped outside of the boundaries of the UK, and also do it quickly. We work together, we build websites together, first websites, then afterwards mobile websites, but it turned out that this company is now a company with 30 people actually, and they have 47 retailers across the world. So again, another example that today you can build a company from scratch using those type of platforms if you have a good idea. And maybe that's what I want to end with. Again, a good idea. We think that there has never been a better time to have a good idea, thanks to the technology that is there to serve it. We are fortunate enough at Facebook to see firsthand actually how that people use it and what they expect. And so that's why we have identified those 4 trends. Again, 4 trends that are, let me say, curation, community, conversation, and commerce. Please make sure to integrate that in everything you do, but also please make sure that you have the skills inside, in-house, to be able to do that. So hire people with digital skills, hire data analysts, work with agencies, work with technology partners as we can have here, because all of these are crucial and critical for your success of tomorrow. And that was it for me. Thank you very much. We have a booth here, just like at the entrance or at the entrance. So if you want to hear more about that, we have consultants that are there to work with you for 2 days. So please make use of it. Thank you very much.
Last session of Digital First, but wow, we got the very fine selections for wrapping things up with you here today. So thank you for joining. As you know, we'll be hosting here a panel about influence online and how we can bridge the gap between, let's call it, to make it simple, the old and the brand new world. So we did welcome 4 influencers from Belgium here today with different projects, but all very interesting. So if you don't know them, please check them out online. It's gonna be very interesting. So first, let me introduce you here, Charlotte Collard.
Hello.
Who is actually you are a TV host for the Michelin Guide, and you were one of the 3 braces for all things fashion and food on Instagram. So
yes.
I think it's going to be very classy talk from her, and very interesting to hear as well.
Very niche.
Of course, and very interesting. So basically your idea, if I get it right, is to combine 2 worlds about taste.
Yes.
So the first is about how you can develop fashion through the Food Network.
Yeah.
And the second, how you can bring food into a fashion behavior, right?
Yes, which is developing, as fashion will do, around a product that's more accessible in terms of prices.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I've heard that you're also cooking with the Michelin star chefs.
Yes,
yeah?
I do.
So I would love to
I've been
take that
doing
on
this
the
in
interest.
Paris, and around the world too, so we're getting more and more.
Excellent.
Yes.
And you've launched actually a brand around that, like Charlotte Collard Culture, right?
Yes, I have started my catering service. The idea to start this kind of service is to physicalize all my collaboration that I do on the digital, which is quite interesting because I get out of an Instagram, a social network platform, and gives a balance between the 2 different worlds, which is a physical world and a digital world.
Okay, interesting.
Thank you.
So we have Charlotte and we have Charlotte as well, ladies first. And
yeah.
So we have Charlotte Collard, we have Charlotte Dupré. Welcome and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Does am I? Okay, fantastic. Charlotte Dupré here is a freelance content creator, a strategist. You are a web editor-in-chief at Mindclair Belgique.
Yeah.
You will tell us a bit more about that. And you're also an Instagram trainer. So I think the thing that is really interesting with your project is that you have this double, expertise. Like you train on Instagram and you practice yourself. So it's going to be very interesting to hear what you've been doing with the Tiny Nomad project, which is about sharing your lifestyle with travel, don't you here?
Travel, mostly.
Okay, so thank you again for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
Enjoy it.
Then, for those of you who were here early in the morning with a good coffee, we had Jonathan Cullen with a very inspiring talk. Thank you for joining us again. I think the mic needs to be turned on. Can you thank us again to make sure that it works properly?
Should it work?
Yeah.
Excellent. So to remind, Jonathan, you are a Mexican Belgian. You are behind the Mom and Fine brand that some of you might know, maybe most of you, because I think it's a very interesting concept. You are running a community of over 350,000 people on Instagram. And you are a brand ambassador for many prestigious brands such as, if I may mention, Volvo, Canon, Samsung, Adidas, or the European Commission, to name a few. So very interesting projects that you've been involved in. You carry out several campaigns as well, one of them being actually quite popular with Cristiano Ronaldo, if I remember. And what is going to be very interesting with the conversation we will be having here today is how you're actually putting your reputation to the service of a greater cause. So you will be sharing about this idea of constructing a school and selling it out of plastics, recycled plastic in Mexico, right?
Yes.
In the city of Italy. Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. And then, last but not least, as we say, a very, very mediocre dude from Belgium.
That's right.
That's your Instagram bio, right?
My mic is very loud.
Very average. But for this time, we welcome Robert Van Imp, or Rob, aka Average Rob. I'm sure he's going to deliver an exception today by not being this average by sharing experience. So, Rob, you're actually that guy on Instagram photoshopping a lot of pictures with a very, very funny twist. And I didn't know about you actually 1 week ago, but you know, I was like laughing my ass off. So if you don't know about Rob, please look it up, Average Rob. So thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for letting me join you.
As well. It's our pleasure. So, I suggest that we start off, and I would like the conversation to start with maybe a basic question, but I think it's important, and I would like to hand over to Jonathan about what the so-called influence marketing. How would you define influence marketing? And I would say, is that influence marketing highly suitable for any organization?
So, first, the first question, what is influencer marketing? Well, basically, one would say that it's just advertising, but in a different way. Basically, usually you have like a brand that wants to have a message. The way they do it through traditional media, television, press, radio. They always do it the same way. They give their own message with their own DNA through different media. And here, the big difference is that influencers are taking this message and giving it with their own way of talking. The name of the message of the brand. And usually influencers have been linked, like I don't really like the word influencer because it's really special, let's say. But most of the people, when we say influencer, think of lifestyle, often girls that are selling products or things like this. But I want to underline that there are a lot of different influencers. Like an example, Elon Musk also has a crowd, like a big crowd, not anymore on Instagram, but when he tweets something, like it has an influencer on the market. If you take some famous photographers like Steve McCurry, if he says that his favorite camera is going to be this, you don't know it, but it's influencer marketing. So this to me is influencer marketing, and to me, there is an influencer for everything. It's just that we just think about travel, lifestyle, and all this type of things. But I think that for almost every single sector, there is like someone that can represent from that area.
So I remember that one of your clients were the European Commissions, for example. We know that there are a lot of layers there. How do you deal with this idea of organizational inertia there? Is that something tough? Can you really find a proper balance, or?
So I've got a different, so lately I've been working with a lot of different type of clients, including European Commission, UNICEF, etc. And they are really special clients because on their way of communicating, they have been working on the same way for years and years. So most of them have been sending letters or been doing the same thing with traditional media, and giving the power to someone else external to say, okay, you have to communicate on our behalf. It's really something special for them, especially for this. So pharmaceutical companies, it's the same thing. There is a lot of process, there are a lot of rules, and they don't know exactly how to do, because usually, let's be honest, the ones that are in charge are people that are senior marketing or heads of marketing, and so in the end, they are people that don't use social media, that doesn't know exactly how it works, and so it's difficult for them to give that much power to someone else. So far we have been doing it in special ways, like creating something where our DNA is close to theirs and trying to find a way to make it work, and it has been working so far. But just to finish with that, they don't have the choice. If, an example, UNICEF at the moment is sending letters to people of most of toward age saying, okay, thank you for your donation, can you please do the same next year? if you send me a letter, or if you send any of us like any letter, we don't even open it. We're not this generation, and if they don't renew the way of communicating, they're gonna have some problems. So now I think that they understood the risk for them, and they are changing the way of working.
Okay, I think it would be interesting afterwards to address the idea of generational gap, or something you did address this morning. Robert had interesting thoughts on that as well. But before, maybe Charlotte, you've been working actually with the Michael Belgique, and I think that's it's always interesting to, when we define influence marketing, try to define the difference between influencers processes online and how traditional media like the press works. I think it's important to reshare definition. What will be your definition of that difference, and is the line fine between both words? What will be your word on that?
I think one of the main differences is money, definitely. So traditional media and traditional press, journalists need to have they have a code of ethics that they have to respect. They are accountable for what they write, what they say, and they try to find the truth in a story and then tell that story. Whereas an influencer, as we know, like not Elon Musk, for example, but the classic influencer, will mostly partner with a brand and then tell that story, but it will be probably paid at some point. That's, to me, the money is really the main difference. Of course, a lot of influencers do stuff for free and just because they believe in it, and I'm not saying that all influencers are paid just to breathe, that's not what I'm saying, but that would be one of the main differences, is to be accountable versus not to really be accountable.
Interesting, this idea of being accountable. We'll be actually addressing the ontology ethics as well later on, but being accountable, and then I want to hand over to the other charity here on my right. I know that for you the idea of image right, or I mean whether it is photo, video, is quite important. I think that's still tough for the historical industry to adapt to a fast-changing world. What is your view on how we can deal, or how we deal as we speak, around this idea of image rights?
I think, these like social network platforms allows a lot of stuff and a lot of sharing. Jonathan and I were both models, so we grew up in a world where image rights and picture rights had a lot of value. And I think, the fact that Instagram disable or let people take screenshots opens a way of sharing that kills that image rights and picture rights. I mean, I work with a photographer that I pay, and he allows me to use his picture on my Instagram, but the people sharing the picture, they're not asking anything, they're not paying him anything, so I don't know when is this going to stop. I do communicate every time I sign a contract with the brand that if there is any picture usage, they have to let me know, because I have to let my photographer know. I have to let the client know that there is an image value when my face is on it, and a picture rights and a picture value when the picture is used.
Shall we maybe adopt this regulation? And we know it's still tough for the regulator to catch up with the speed of change. What do you mind?
I think, if I understood your question, I think the solution of that is to have an option where screenshots are able or disabled on Instagram. So we should all be able to let people share or not.
Okay, the snapshot did, for example.
Yeah. So I think this is the solution. I don't know how long it's going to last. But I do, within my contract, communicate that kind of collaboration. If they want to reuse the picture, they have to either credit, and then there's a visibility exchange, which is, like some account, like brand account, they have a lot of visibility, so we do like an agreement between a visibility exchange. But if they start boosting our picture, it's like putting in the street an ad campaign, and they're selling with our face or picture, and I think it's really important to put a limit there and to let all bloggers, influencers know that what we create has a value, and that our face on the picture has a value too, which is the image right.
Yes. Okay, well, interesting. I think there's still a lot to be done, and I think that this goes hand in hand with the idea of having an ethical code of conduct. So you were talking about this last time as well. We'll be coming back a bit later.
But if we start, speak together and share this together and support each other, letting all influencers and bloggers know about this, that their face has a value, their picture has a value. Little by little, step by step, it will become more concrete, I would say.
Okay. Let me maybe step back a bit. I want to, Rob, have your mind on this point, because well, for the people in this room, and no matter the business that you are dealing with, I mean the activities that you are dealing with, when we were preparing this conversation, you insisted on the importance of addressing the issues around the Belgian markets and how mature it is or it is not. What is your mind on that with the experience you have and potentially what could be done around that as well?
I think that the Belgian market is definitely a little bit behind on Holland and France, I think, and on America also. I think the Belgian digital evolution came a little bit later. Like as in Turkey, they still like play Shana Paul on the radio, but for us it's with digital media. I think it's there's like a big difference between like people like big marketing companies or big brands are still used to working with traditional media, and that's TV formats and paper and maybe radio formats, but I know it's going really fast. Like the digital evolution came really fast, and it's very hard to adapt, especially if you have like a very long-term plan in your company. But there's so much potential in doing stuff online, and it's also a very different way of working. Like a production for a TV ad is completely different than production for an online video. For example, for TV, brands will most likely invest in really qualitative production and have like a camera guy, a camera assistant, a light guy assistant, a director, a producer, and you have a team of 15 people or 20 people working on one video, and that's a lot of money that goes towards content that doesn't work online. And if you put that budget into online and you work the same way, you're going to waste a lot of budget that could be used to create something amazing with a smaller team. So I would say like the biggest difference in Belgium is that, I'm not saying we're doing wrong, we're just a little bit behind. I see a very nice progress in it. I see that a lot of like advertisement companies and a lot of brands are already working really well with digital media, but I think that for online media it should really work together with the influencer, as you call them, or content creators or people who are on social media. I think it's very important. If you want to work together with them, you should work together with them from the start and work together with their people. Like if they have a camera guy, if they have someone they work with regularly to bring it to life, their content, then do that and sit together around the table and create really good content that works well for the influencer and works really well for the company, because they know their audience the best, they know what will work best, and that's pretty much it. It's very vague, I'm sorry.
This is for you a gap that we do have in Belgium, this idea that there's like a disproportion between, like, for example, the teams, bigger for traditional, yes, smaller for influencers. Does my mic work, or yes?
Yeah.
1, 2, okay.
My mic is louder. No?
I don't know. Tell me, show something if you can. So this idea of teams, yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think it's you have to downsize in teams for online, but maybe keep the same budget.
Okay.
That's maybe a good idea, and then just create like really good content.
Just to stick maybe to the Belgian market, I think Jonathan had a views on that as well. You have an international experience, so you can really have this overview on the Belgian market and how it is unfolding abroad. What can you say around that?
So to explain a bit more, I've been traveling like for 3 years now, and the account is mainly international, and so basically I've been working with different markets around the world. I've been working with the Belgian markets, the Mexican markets, the US, and a bit of France. And basically there is a huge difference, and I will make a difference between two things. The first one is media. Media, to make it super short, we've got two approaches. Either media, traditional media, is going to say, okay, we're going to embrace these new things and we're going to go with them and do something together, or we're going to face them and do something against them. I will give you an example of what happened in what country. In Mexico, television went fiercely against influencers. They were criticizing them, they were saying bad things and saying that they were pointless and didn't understand that actually there is a big generation under the children of these people criticizing were following them. And so there is like this different way of seeing life and seeing things that is bigger and bigger, because between my mother and her grandmother, the difference was not that big between my mother and me. When I started this job, she started to say, okay, when are you going to finally work? So now she understands that it's a work, but it took time. And in Mexico, they went against them. And basically, some people start to have contracts with influencers, and the influencers said, you know what, we're going to create our own channels, we're going to structure ourselves, and we're going to do something really bigger. And to give you an idea, it became so big that even if you take international influencers, you will take for travel, that is something that I really know. You have Murad Osman, probably you know someone that has like the end, like follow me, it's a concept. You've got like other ones like Do You Travel and all these ones. All together, if you take the 3 biggest in the world, it's gonna be them 3, and they're gonna have like 7-8 million followers. Luisito Comunica, the Mexican, has 25 million. When he talks, he has more than, MTV was inviting him before to his show, not knowing that actually his show has more views than MTV. So it's totally disruptive, and some Americans start to understand, and they said, okay, we're gonna do something a bit bigger, and they organize themselves with contracts, etc. And France went even further, like maybe you know it, Webedia in France, it's TF1 and MCs, etc. started to invest money and said, okay, we're going to invite influencers to our shows, and we're going to also produce quality content here, their own things, respecting their own DNA. And it's exploding. It's exploding. But here in Belgium, there is almost nothing. I know that it's not a huge market, but if you think about it, there is no link. We start to talk a little bit with RTL, with RTBF, etc. And now we did a group, like Average Rob and I, in the same group called Iceberg, where we try to do a group where we can produce content in our own house and have our own, an example, lawyer, and have our own accountancy, and have people that do prospection and do all those things together. And when we start to speak about that with other people, now they start to see the interest when other countries are doing this for years and years. And we are a group that represents, to give you an idea, we are 10 approximately, and it's minimum 100,000 followers up to 2 million, I think, 1.5 million. Together we represent maybe 4 or 5 million, it's half Belgium. And you're having a media that is less expensive, that can produce quality content, and that can do it for cheaper, and we are not still heard. I mean, not in Belgium. Like, luckily, we have I guess a lot of clients, and it's going well. You heard the campaigns, but most of them, it's out of Belgium. And I think that we are way behind, and even in figures we know it. It's, I think, 1 hour 46 time spent on social media per day on a phone in Belgium, when the average is 3 hours 15 around the world, if I remember well.
So your plan will be to better structure, actually, like at the national level. That is what you mean here. But at some point you would be kind of urbanizing agencies as well.
Yes,
like make it more structured.
Yeah, we are doing the structure. We are doing this at the moment, but I'm surprised that the difference of vision between countries like the US or England or other countries like even Mexico, that they're way ahead, like not exaggerating on the campaigns, on the way they do it. An example, even I'm Belgian, I'm from here most of the time, and in Mexico they've got billboards with the pictures and they're pushing it like a lot, when here it's sometimes difficult to have like